Our new Executive Secretary, Victoria Long, will be taking some minutes. First of all, please congratulate her for taking the job. And Carolyn's on the call. Listen for your name to be called.
Here.
Senator Robin.
Here.
Senator James. Senator Tanner. Here. Senator Maeda. Senator Sullivan. Senator Casson. Senator Speed. Here. Senator Shaw. Here. Keep us. Senator Gambarella.
Here.
Senator Glasser.
Here.
Senator Warren. Here. Senator Rappley. Senator Romani.
Here.
Senator Hardy.
Here.
Senator Smith. Senator Padilla.
Here.
Senator Barrington. Here. Senator Sheet.
Here.
Senator Dellinger.
Here.
Senator Young Trustee.
Here.
Senator Lynch.
Here.
Senator Chang. Senator Bissell.
Here.
Senator Chang.
Here.
Senator Roberts.
Here.
Senator Curtis.
Here.
Senator Zane. Senator Zhao. Senator Moore. Here. Senator Good.
Here.
Senator Palmisano. Senator Bullock.
Here.
Senator D'Antoni. Senator Sung. Senator Rita. Here. Senator Farrell.
Here.
Senator Howe. Senator Hess. Here. Senator Lenny.
Here.
Senator Sig.
Here.
Senator Tom. Senator Greeley.
Here.
Senator Wayne.
Here.
Senator Cordes.
Here.
Senator Blunt. Senator Raff-Odell. Senator Brunetti.
Here.
Senator Skoufis. Senator Thompson. Here. Senator Caldwell.
Here.
Senator Maddox.
Here.
Senator Camarda.
Here.
Senator Volsichek. Senator Hopkins, or Pro Tem Hopkins.
Here.
Vice President Busachi. Vice
Here.
President Mohawk. Vice President Ansel. Here. Vice President Wiseman. Here. Vice President Moffett.
Here.
Vice President Melgar.
What up?
Vice President Stinner.
Here. All right, moving on to approval of last week's minutes. Does anyone have any issues with the minutes we've taken from last week? Any objections? All right. Moving on to announcements first. Actually, Mr. Richard Mayor, please come on the floor.
Hi, thank you all for having me. My name is Richard Beaver. I'm the Information Security Officer for Duke University. It's a mouthful saying that I get to deal with all the IT security related stuff that happens here. One of the things that I noticed, I've been here about 5 years. One of the things I noticed when I got here was that we don't have, you get on the wireless network. It's not like the wireless network at home where you turn turn on WPA2, if you've ever noticed that little acronym, or in the old days it was called WEP, which was kind of a joke of a security measure. But that was something that we didn't really have in place here. And we started working on how do we deploy that out there to help our students, our faculty, staff protect themselves while they're connected to wireless networking. I didn't bring a colleague of mine who could show you a very scary demo on what could happen if you connect to an untrusted network, but we decided that would be a really bad thing to have here. So looking at it, for those of you that may have noticed, when you got back from Christmas break or the holiday break, there was a new network that was showing up, and when you went and did a little pull down and looked at your available networks, it was called Duke Blue. I have to tell you, when we're developing IT services, the hardest thing is to come up with a name for something. Don't know if you all have that problem in some of the things that we deal with. So we chose the very innocuous name. We talked about Duke Secure. We decided that was kind of a bad idea. Looked at some different things, and quite frankly, it's a placeholder, because down the road, as we move people over onto this WPA2 encrypted network, we will look at, in the coming years, renaming that to Duke. So in effect, what will happen is we go over to Duke Blue, we have people sign up for it, and then in a few months or years, maybe, depending on how things move, we will revert back to the original Duke name. So you ask, why do you care about that? What's important for you is that this helps preserve the confidentiality of your connections when you're connecting to wireless. It does encrypt the traffic between your system and the rest of the Duke network, and then once you're on, kind of in the background on the wires, it's doing its own thing. But it adds that layer of protection for you. We have worked very hard to get things set up to make it fairly easy. We did some testing with our SWAT team out of OIT. We've had some groups around campus testing it today. There are about 1,000 people that are using the network. That seems to be pretty stable for them. The experience seems to have been pretty good. But as with most of the things that my team is involved in, we are looking actively for feedback from people that are using the service so that we can make improvements. That's why I'm here tonight, was to talk to you a little bit about the network itself. If you go to, you can go to oit.duke.edu/wireless. So this page here, which is available and live today, gives you kind of the background. It's done in the same style as the Box page, for those of you that are familiar with Box. But you can get information about the network. By the way, how many of you all travel to other schools or participate in stuff at other schools? Anybody do that? Yeah. So one of the nice things about that is there's this thing called EduRoam, which is EduRoam Worldwide Roaming. So when you go to other schools, you can log, and they have EduRoam on their network. You can log into that with your Duke credentials, which is really nice because you get free kind of wireless access there. So that is instructions on that are available here. And basically, what we're looking for is from you all, basically some feedback on the use of the service, how it works. And then in about 2 weeks, I think it's not next week, but the week after, we will be setting up locations at East Campus and West Campus to help students that are interested in this, help them get on if they're having problems with it. So we are going to do a little bit of a marketing blitz, so to speak, and then make people available to assist with folks that want to get on it. So that's all I really had about it, and I open it up for questions you all might have.
Questions, guys?
Yes.
Sorry, okay, so, everyone is going to need to, just to get like the key point here, everyone's going to need to do this process with their computers and like all their, like their smartphone, whatever
Right.
else. And that's gonna, is there like a definitive endpoint where people are going to have to transition to this, or is the other Duke network going to still exist?
So we have not set an endpoint. That's a really good question, because part of this is we want to slowly grow it and get people on it, and if we find major issues, address them before saying, yeah, that's it, you're off. Okay, that seems like a really bad idea.
Yeah.
So we haven't set a date. However, one of the ideas we're leaning toward is that at some point, if everything is going well, say over the summer, what we would do is hide the Duke network, so make it invisible. your device is already connected to it, you would still be able to connect to it, but it would prevent new people from coming in from seeing it and accidentally connecting to it.
Okay, so like I can see it right now. If I
Yep.
just changed and did it, then I don't have to worry about it again.
You don't have to do
That's
anything
like-
again. Yep, absolutely. Yes, ma'am.
What is the main difference between the networks? Just that it's more secure, is it supposed to be faster, hold more students?
It's running on the same infrastructure. The big difference is today, if you're on a Duke network, your traffic goes up to the access points. I didn't even look to see where one is in this room, but it connects into the network. It's unencrypted, the network traffic itself. Now, if you went to your bank's website or went to somewhere that says HTTPS on it, that traffic is encrypted, but your other traffic, that isn't doing that wouldn't be encrypted. So it adds that layer of protection on to, so if somebody, wanders in on campus and they're sniffing the wireless network, they can't see your traffic.
Other questions?
Yes, sir.
I see that miscellaneous devices aren't included. So when we do
Yes.
roll out Duke Blue into Duke,
Mhm.
what's going to happen with game
Devices that
consoles?
can't work, right. So we are also introducing a second SSID or network called Duke Open, and that will be specifically for things like gaming devices or the Internet of Things that can't do encrypted network connections.
Any further questions?
Thank you for your time.
Can I move to put public forum at the top of the agenda?
Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? Nay. Is there anybody for public forum?
Yep.
Who's gonna ask me?
Okay, hello. I'm Tim Lumber, and I guess I'm sort of the leader of a coalition of students that are trying to keep Graces around. So currently we have 800 student signatures on a petition. We have the support of a variety of organizations, the Singaporean Student Association, CASA, Magnify Epsilon, a few more. But yeah, so I'm here to just sort of present our case and sort of talk about what we're doing and what we hope to do, and discuss paths of action, I guess. Yeah. So, really, we're kind of in an exploratory phase, like trying to figure out what the hell happened and why Graces is not going to stick around. We understand there was a taste test of sorts from movement to West Union, and that Graces was unanimously voted against, which we find was the ARC, and we have 800 signatures on the petition saying that that's not quite accurate. So we're sort of asking for more information about how that taste test was conducted, like what students were involved, if there were any students, what was the makeup, were there any Asian students? Because, yeah, like the benefits that Graces provide are certainly not limited to just sort of the taste of the food. Like there's quite a few options, there's like vegetarian options, but besides that, it's more authentic than really anything else we'll be able to get access to on campus. And sort of the argument against the removal of Graces is that we're going to have sushi at a stir-fry bar and of course Panda Express, which I don't think that is quite equivalent to the wide variety of things that you get access to at Graces. Yeah, so of course I can list all the various benefits, but I think you guys are very well familiar with Graces itself. So I'm not quite sure also what power you guys have as a group to sort of help the cause. So would anybody be able to inform me on that? Like, do you think I'll be will you guys be able to help me at all?
Anyone wants to answer that?
Yes.
Yeah.
I know, so.
Vice President Wiseman.
Yeah, okay. So long story short, and GP can probably help back this up. Duke Student Government itself was involved in the taste test. There's a committee that's an affiliate called DSG, which is the dining committee, which is separately appointed. We have one representative right now on DSG. It's a separate person who's at that taste test. In terms of what we can do and what we can try to help you find options to do is write a resolution in support of why we would like to see Graces come back in another format. We can try to help you fundraise because right now it's about $500,000 to keep Grace's in its current place on Central. We can try to find alternate options like a food cart, or something to keep food on Central in Trent for students who might be in Ames or Global Health or other departments near Trent. So that we can help try to navigate administration and who we might want to talk to find a way to find Grace's another location on campus or another form that it could take.
Do you know if there's gonna be something else there?
No, so,
We're talking in the study space.
They need classrooms.
yeah, as I understand it, they're, like, it just can't support a restaurant because of the ventilation, so it's unsafe. So,
Any further questions? Vice President Passion?
Have you reached out to anyone within Duke Dining yet, or heard back from them?
yeah, but I haven't heard any response yet, so. I
And
don't-
you reach out to Robert Coffey?
Who's that?
Robert Coffey, is that the person that you reached out to?
No, it's not.
Oh, okay. Shoot me a Facebook message after this, and I'll let
Okay.
you know.
Great.
Any further questions?
Well, I was gonna say, I actually really support the petition. I race the face area, I love races. And I think, yeah, the question, so in the Chronicle, there was an article that was like, no one on these streets is Asian, and that's, and just so you guys know, like, the difference, DSG is basically a group of students who do all the dining on campus, and I think the questions you guys are asking about was the taste test, like, do you have a diverse group of students? I think this is a really clear question, and I think you guys should keep asking that. And then do the taste test, like, comparing like a wider variety of food or something like that. So I think, yeah, your best bet is if you will put you in touch with people at dining you can talk to. My guess is that Grace's won't be able to stay where it's located, like just logistically, but I think you guys should keep pushing about logistically where else Grace's can go, and try to get maybe like the owner of Grace's more involved in the process. Because it's my impression that they've been known for a while, that they weren't going to move out, and we're okay with that decision, and then students were just made that decision, made aware of that. But just, like, I'm super supportive, I'm sure there's response from Jack.
So we've talked to Jack, and it seems that Duke is not really allowing him to comment, so our conversations with him are pretty tight-lipped, which is increasingly frustrating given the situation.
Any further questions?
Okay, thank you so much for your time.
Moving back to announcements. Associate Justice Ross Winston, will you please come down? Also, new senators, will you please come to the floor as well?
We'll let them on your committee.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna, hi everyone, I'm Basil C. I was on DSG last year. I'm on Res Life. Yeah.
Bringing it back.
Hi, I'm Shelby Wales. I'm a junior. I was on social culture the past 2 years, and then this year I'm on a semester facilities and environment.
I'm Jacob Glasser. I'm a freshman. I'm on the academic affairs.
I'm Moses. I was on the service committee last year and this semester.
New co-head gatekeeper, what's up? Yeah.
Hey, I'm Eddie. I'm a sophomore. I'm on Res Life.
I'm Maddie. I'm a junior, and I'm also on Red Light.
I'm Luke Farrell, I'm a freshman and I'm on academic affairs.
Ross Winston, Associate Justice.
Thanks, Ross.
Alright. Don't all raise your right hand. Please. I state your name.
I'm Shelby.
Swear that I will faithfully execute
Swear that I will faithfully execute
the office of DSG Senator,
the office of DSG Senator,
and that I will, to the best of my ability,
and that I will, to the best of my ability,
preserve, protect, and defend
preserve, protect, and defend
the Constitution of the Duke Student Government.
the Constitution of the Duke Student Government.
Congratulations.
Say congrats. Guys, what up, Slade? Guys, shh.
I'm Carolyn, I'm a freshman, and I'll be one of the executive secretaries.
Hi, I'm Victoria Wong. I'm also a freshman.
I state your name. Swear that I will faithfully execute the office of DSG Executive Secretary, and that I will, to the best of my ability, preserve, protect, and defend the Constitution of the Duke Student Government. Congratulations.
All right. Moving back to announcements. Annie, Chief of Staff, Annie there. Would you like to introduce the Young Trustee candidates?
Hey, John, can I get a
We don't
question?
have the
About this process, can I just make a So I'd like to make a motion that anyone who is actively helping campaign for, or who is I wouldn't say openly supportive, but anyone who's actively campaigning for / on the campaign team for the Young Trustee candidates not speak during this process. I think it's a good thing. I'm doing that myself, but I would ask / make it that we do that, so that everyone who doesn't have an affiliation with the campaign can ask questions and whatever else, and we don't spend the whole time doing gotcha questions.
So here's what we're gonna do. So hey guys, I'm up here again talking about the Young Trustees, big shocker. So basically, yeah, so all the Young Trustees finalists are here to kind of talk to you guys tonight. You can feel free to ask them questions. The reason we're starting, we only have 2 of them here right now, but one of them has to leave very soon, and the other one isn't going to get here till 8:30. But just to kind of again reiterate what the Young Trustee is, the election is on Tuesday. The winner of this is going to be a full voting member for the 2nd year, but they're going to have a 2-year term on the Board of Trustees. Just kind of remind you, as we're going through this process, you guys are probably a little bit more, or a lot more engaged in what the Young Trustee is. Basically just ask them about why they, what traits they think they have that make them a Young Trustee, how they think they'll their experiences will shape their experience with the board. But again, they're not the DSG president, so they're not going to be able to have platforms or ideas or anything, because they're not going to be an advocate on the board. They're just going to be another member. That's not really what the Board of Trustees does. So, Wills, do you want to go first?
Sure.
Yeah, I think he was just in one talk.
Hey guys, my name is Will Brady. I'm an undergraduate senior and a program 2 major. And I'm running for Young Trustee simply because Duke has formed me in a variety of different ways, very significantly, intellectually, athletically, personally, spiritually. I think it's given me the opportunity to reflect, again, seriously on what it is that the university is and ought to be, and more specifically what role the university ought to play in the lives of its students. As Annie said, a Young Trustee is not really an advocate, but a member of the fiduciary body of the university. It's guiding the university, to whom the university is entrusted the future. And so I think Young Trustee has to have really two qualifications or dimensions. One, a wide range of experience on campus, and 2, a coherent and comprehensive vision of what a university is. And so I'll start with my experience and I'll get into my vision. As far as experience goes, like I said, I'm a program 2 major. I'll enter into that my junior fall, so I wrestle a lot with the different academic offerings at Duke. My program 2 major is called Markets, Society, and Personalism. The Markets is sort of public policy and economics focus. The Society is a history and literature and political science focus. And the Personalism is focused on philosophy and theology to the Divinity School. And the central question at the core of my program 2 is really what is a human person, and morally speaking, and what does it mean to be a human person, and what does it mean to live a full life? And given our answer to that question, what are our answers to the great the normative economic questions, and the normative political questions of our time? like operating with the working anthropologists, let's say. And so that will frame much of my vision, which we'll get to in a second. The other areas in which I'm involved on campus, I'm a student athlete, I'm varsity cross country and track. I would be the first student athlete on the board of trustees elected Young Trustee since 1990. And I was just meeting with Kevin White earlier today, who is the vice president of the university and athletic director, and he was just saying how much he would like to see a student athlete on the board of trustees. It's been a long time, clearly we're 10% of the population, and once every 25 years is much less than that's a representation would account for. I've also served on the Chronicle editorial board for 2 years, my sophomore and junior year. I'm sure you guys are quite familiar with the editorial board in some way or another, but I think what's unique about that and what would help it would inform a board of trustees member proper is that the editorial board really looks at the same issues that the board of trustees is looking at, but from the student's perspective. Meditates on them, discusses, comes to a conclusion, and publishes it. And so doing that for 2 years got me, I think, an in-depth look at the institutional direction of the university, and especially the university's self-understanding. And then finally, I was student director at the Duke Catholic Center last year, which I had a significant role in the university's spiritual management, spiritual life of the students. And my main work there was in the Duke Catholic Center's lecture series, which sought to basically engage students' curricular studies and inquiry into the Catholic tradition. And we actually, I think that also the key there with respect to the Board of Trustees is the variety of different areas on campus for which I engaged as director of the lecture series. We worked with the physics department, we worked with the African American Studies department, we worked with the Women's Studies department, the Center for Sexual and Gender Diversity, and the Marion Williams Center. So these are not areas on campus which one would intuitively associate with the Catholic Church or the Duke Catholic Center, but they were areas in which we were concerned with reaching out to. So I think that would sort of evoke or capture an interest on my part in engaging all parts of campus and representing and speaking for all parts of campus because I have that experience. As for my vision, good, okay. So, as for my vision, I think really a university begins, certainly what unifies it, is the educational experience. We're here fundamentally to learn to be students. And I think Duke's curriculum is not all that unified, not all that integrated. And most importantly, I think it really doesn't address the serious life questions of purpose and meaning, which are embedded in every human heart. And I think that actually the source of a lot of the social division on campus, of the, just general identity issues, identity politics, identity divisions, stem from sort of mutual misunderstandings that occur at the foundational intellectual level. And so I think what Duke needs to do then is to have make it very accessible, accessible for investigation in the classroom, these questions of purpose and meaning. It doesn't mean through a required core curricular structure, but it means maybe an opt-in, like certificate in liberal studies or intellectual history or great books or something like that, where you can actually take a coherent, chronologically ordered sort of courses as a certificate into your engineering or econ or whatever else it might be, such that you can actually have, when you disagree with someone, you can actually have a shared body of material to discuss, as opposed to just coming, totally in different planes. So that's purpose and integration. And the second thing is transparency. A university exists for its students. What separates a research think tank from a research university is that we're students here. And so that means that there's a collaborative relationship between the administration and between the student body. In the university, you don't just pay your money and then just get an education dumped on you. It's a dialectical process. And the university is, I think most students feel that the administration doesn't necessarily care that much about them, or is rather opaque and off doing its own things and occasionally pop out and give some sort of policy solution or whatever. But I mean, simple examples have affected every student's life. The construction, parking as of late. I mean, these are examples of universities not really caring, and there are deeper manifestations of that as well. So that's sort of overall my vision and my opinion. Yeah, sure. Happy to take questions.
So you've had a really wide variety of experience on campus. What's the single most transformative experience you've had, or one that challenged you the most?
Sure. I would say, my experience in putting together my major was extremely challenging. I've been long since I've been on the campus, I've been seeking a way to integrate philosophy, economics, politics, etc. And you would think PhD certificate's a very easy way to do that. But I was seeking really a level of inquiry and a level of first principles, getting really to the foundation. I really think most disagreements about political issues or whatever are on the level of metaphysics, on the level of first principles. And what I was finding is in no department at Duke was I really going to be able to get to that level without actually doing it myself. But I mean, I don't know if anyone here is a program team major, but it's not an easy thing to put together because there's also a lot of resistance from the administration. Why don't you just go do a different major? Why don't you just go, make it happen in program 1? It's so much easier for bases, etc. But I think, I mean, what the way that experience translates into a term on the board of trustees is in having wrestled with the different dimensions of the university's course offerings and sort of exhausting like the substance the real fundamental substance I thought I could get from those areas. I think I can really speak to like where especially as the curriculum is under review right now, speak to the areas in which I think student life can be most acutely affected by improvements in it. So.
Right, yeah, just like kind of a couple of questions. Could you just articulate what committee you're looking to sit on?
Yeah, undergraduate.
Okay, yeah. And then just a little bit on the curriculum. So you talked a little bit about the dissolving technology and social right?
Yeah.
And I just don't necessarily see the inherent link between creating an optional set of core courses about liberal studies, right? I mean, in essence, you have that right now. You can take a bunch of classes about liberal studies if you wanted to, and necessarily dissolving that difference, right? Or seeing that the majority of students end up taking those same classes. So how do you really see it to take those classes to gain the same better knowledge about the meaning? And then sort of along that thought, working on the curriculum, I know you came from the focus groups, but one of the recent developments I've been pushing for is a Duke 101 curriculum, sort of something that every single Duke student will take their freshman year, and now I'm working on sort of designing that class. So if there were a couple things you could see now, what would they look like? So sort of like that question.
Yeah, sure. So to the first part, I did attend that folks great meeting. I also met with Suzanne, shared on multiple occasions, just one-on-one, and Noah Pickus and the Keenan Institute of Ethics. They also consulted me for insight and how they thought that the curriculum might better be reviewed or assessed. The key was looking at areas for collaboration between student life, so they met and then the curriculum review. I think, so the distinction between offering this as an opt-in program, you say, oh, we already have this right now. Well, the key is like the opt-in program would be something structured. Right now, you can sort of put together yourself. But the access to mentorship, the access to true guidance from university professors saying, this actually, like normally speaking, would be good, these are good things that are good for you to learn. That's what, I think about who's in a position of authority here, right? The professors, the administration are in a position, they're imparting knowledge upon students. And so there's an idea that these professors, these administrators who've been in this position for a very long time, been through the works, have an idea of what's important to know and what Duke students should know. And curriculum 2000 is not conveyed that. It says you ought to know how to write, you ought to have a couple classes with a few amount of people in them, like a seminar, and then after that, just have at it and do whatever you like within some sort of broad areas of knowledge. Now what I'm saying is I think there are certain questions that every student has to answer, and so how would I have this introduced within the context of a Duke 101 course? Well, I know one of the possibilities is like a Duke 101 course on race, perhaps is one of them. Now, if there were, say, multiple Duke 101 courses, that might be fair. I think one, though, fundamentally on the sources of our sources of ethics, I think, sort of a question about, fully philosophically speaking, about the possibility of the existence of God and what that might mean for the human life. How we can address that philosophically. I think issues that were particularly formative for me personally were looking at like what true friendship actually consists of, what it means to love another human person, like truly, not just sentimentally. What it means to be generous, to be charitable, what these actually look like as virtues, as attributes of our personalities. And I think when you get freshmen who are thinking like that as in their first days, first months, first year on campus, it's going to transform the different areas of life in which they get involved. I think you'll see just a more cohesive social community as a result of students come together collaboratively having thought over these issues together.
Thank you.
Is that it? Thank you.
Guys, first of all, sorry about my outfit. Ran into some car trouble with regards to how I was getting back to my house to change. Past that, my name's Max Schreiber. I'm a senior. I'm an electrical engineering major from Cranston, Rhode Island. The reason I'm running for Young Trustee is pretty simple. I love Duke. I've matured, failed, and learned here. more than at any place or at any time in my life. It's been tremendously rewarding to me, and I want to make sure it is at the very least equally, but hopefully more rewarding to the next generation of Blue Devils than it was for me. You guys are pretty well versed in what a Young Trustee is, so I'll skip that. I think there are two qualities in particular that would make me an excellent Young Trustee. The first quality is meticulousness, which that's not a word I apologize, but I think it gets to the point. I asked Kaiser, I said, Chris Brown is known as a great Young Trustee. Why is that? He says he walks into the most boring meetings. We're talking about audits, the most boring stuff you can think of. And he's got a notepad, and he writes every single thing down, has an opinion beforehand going in about every single thing we're going to talk about. I bring that same type of attitude to everything that I do. I'm going to be an options trader when I leave Duke, starting in the summer. I'm already reading some of the most mind-numbingly boring books possible about mathematical pricing models, behavioral economics, to try to be the best I possibly can at this job. That's the kind of attitude Chris puts into the Young Trustee position. That's the kind of attitude I'll put into the Young Trustee position. The second quality is tremendous. I bring a lot of energy to everything that I do. I'm very passionate about the activities I'm involved in. To give you an illustration, I coach basketball as a job off campus. At the end of our games, I'm the sweatiest player on the team, not my kids. I just have so much love and passion for Duke that I know if I'm fortunate enough to be elected Young Trustee, even though the board meets 4 times a year, I will make this a 365-day-a-year job. Well, I guess 2016 is a leap year, so 366-day-a-year job. So I think those are 2 qualities in particular that would make me a good Young Trustee. On top of that, look, all 3 candidates have a wide depth of experiences. I'll touch on them briefly. I'm the current president of IFC. I was the president of API, so I have leadership experiences with Greek life. I was a former senator, like you guys, and also was the Chief Justice of the DSG Judiciary, back when it actually heard cases. So I had judiciary experience and student government experience as well. I wrote for the Duke Chronicle. I'm an active member of the Jewish Student Union. I was a residential advisor. But I think my most important experience here in Duke has been actually off campus. I coached 3 basketball teams, one at a private school with mostly upper income kids that pay tuition. I coach a rec league in a middle class neighborhood about 10 minutes away. And I also coach an inner city AAU basketball team where one of my 10 kids has a father figure in their lives. So I've had experiences with a lot of different people in the Durham area, and I think I really understand Durham issues from a wide range of perspectives simply through coaching basketball. And that's something that is rare for a Young Trustee who didn't grow up in Durham to bring to the board. Granted, Tanner may be able to one-up me next year if he decides to run, but I think I bring a pretty good Durham affairs knowledge to the board as well. And the last reason I think I'd make an excellent Young Trustee, I get the pulse of the student body. I know there are some of you in the crowd today that are working on an effort to replace the current housing model with a residential college model that would destroy SLG sections, get rid of SLG common rooms, and fundamentally undermine some of the strongest communities on our campus. I am sorry if that comes up. I know we're not supposed to take positions, but it's the right thing to do, because I have to differentiate myself. I'm somebody that if a replacement for the housing model comes up to implement a residential college, I will fight tooth and nail to make sure that doesn't happen. I also think the school community, the undergraduate population, wants an inclusive campus, but one that also promotes free speech. And I don't think there's any dichotomy between those two. I think you can have both. I'm somebody who's well-researched in making our faculty more diverse. The Black Faculty Strategic Initiative from 1993 to 2003 was an effort by the provost that gave departments the financial flexibility to hire Black faculty, tenure track. The result of that program, we doubled the amount of Black faculty at Duke in 10 years. I think going forward, as the board thinks about faculty diversity, we already have a framework that was tremendously successful, and I think we should think about that as a model for how we make a more diverse faculty going forward. At the same time, okay, I've got to dump on you guys a little bit. You have all pushed for an intolerance clause, or collectively pushed for an intolerance clause to be added to the Duke Community Standard. What that means is, for those who didn't do their homework beforehand, I say something, it offends somebody else. They can report me to student conduct, and I can be sanctioned simply for offending somebody. Don't nod your head. I know you're Jamal's campaign manager. It's the truth, and that's how they implement it at other campuses around the country. That's what an intolerance clause is. And that would be fundamentally dangerous to the culture and climate of free speech on this campus. And we cannot let that happen. We can have cultural competency courses. I think there should be many, and you have the option to choose from one, and I think that's a good start for making campus more inclusive. But I think an intolerance clause is an egregious oversight, and I will fight that tooth and nail. Lastly, I want to serve on the Business and Finance Committee, and I have the pre-established connections with some board members to do that. I think the Business and Finance Committee, which sets tuition, which sets financial aid, which supports projects, has their priorities a bit out of whack. We just spent $100 million on a campus in China that 13 undergraduates have lived in. Meanwhile, Stanford, if your family earns less than $125,000 a year, you go for free. Princeton, their annual tuition, $42,000 a year. Ours is $47,000. We're squeezing people on the top and the bottom. We need to do a better job of making Duke accessible to everybody who wants to come here, because I don't know one person who comes to Duke because of our satellite campus in China, but I bet we all know somebody who didn't come to Duke because Stanford was free or Princeton was cheaper. That's it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Does anyone have any questions? Senator Chen.
What is your definition, if you could give me your personal opinion, of hate speech?
I'll just defer to the Supreme Court's definition, which I can't quote word for word, but the Supreme Court has ruled about what hate speech is. And I think anything the Supreme Court considers hate speech would not be appropriate on a college campus.
Can you give me, though, like, your interpretation of that, if that's your guideline? What's your interpretation of that?
No, I'm going to stick with the legal definition. The legal definition is my definition.
Right, but as you understand.
No, hold on, no follow-ups. Any further questions? Senator Curtis.
So the amount of fairly strict positions you're talking, even just your speech to the DSG Senate, how would you expect to be sitting on the Board of Trustees, weighing different options that perhaps your opinions tell you one thing, but the fact might tell you another? How would you deal with that situation, being that you've already taken at least 2 or 3 stances?
Sure. So, look, I come off, or I think of myself as a principled guy and a guy who does my homework, and the positions that I've had have allowed me to do my homework on housing, on financial aid, and on free speech. That being said, I'm also somebody who has demonstrated, believe it or not, the humility to change my mind. As IFC president, we started the sexual assault prevention team to try to get Greek men to have conversations and create proposals that would help mitigate sexual assault on our campus. When we started this committee, we didn't market ourselves well, we didn't make our intentions clear, we didn't reach out to the right resources, we didn't talk to the right people. So we struck out and had another strike down the middle right off the start. And I had the humility, after starting this major project, to say, look, we messed up, go to the right people, figure out how we have to fix it, and now, next month, we're going to have some great proposals from this great team coming in. Annie was kind enough to actually help serve on that team as well, and she was actually an addition to the team after I realized initially how badly I messed up. So I'm somebody who, look, I have my ideas, they're strong, but I'm willing to listen, and, you know, I've had experiences where I identify where I'm wrong and fix it, or do my best to fix it.
Vice President McGough.
Yeah, so I just want to clarify that the majority of issues that you talked about aren't under the purview of the committee that you'd like to sit on.
Correct.
Just to sort of clarify.
Correct.
I understand that you have stances on them, but I don't necessarily find them relevant to this sort of something to think about. But second.
Well, can I respond to that?
Yeah, well, should I just have a
Sure.
sort of the big question I wanted to ask? So for example, you say like DPU is an unmitigated cost, I'm sure there are.
Sure.
$100 million number. I can tell you from both that number is not accurate. So I don't know.
There's reports that it hasn't been accurate, there are reports that it wasn't $100 million.
Sure, I mean, I'll just tell you it's not accurate.
I mean, we can agree to disagree.
I saw the Business and Finance Committee that I can send you.
Let's move on.
So.
She's privy to.
Well, just sort of, I mean, go off that, right? As probably the students talk about DKU more than any other student, unfortunately. You know, when you say like it's an unmitigated disaster, I'm curious about what factors are kind of into that for you. Because if you were to sit on the board and your opinion from students is we should close down DKU, as a student that's sat in on maybe, you know, dozens of meetings, I would completely disagree with you.
That's fine.
And so I'm kind of curious about like where that opinion comes from. So where, you know, what sources of information do you think are important when you make a decision?
Sure. So I think if I can address the DKU position specifically. Number one, I think being an academic climate where we should promote the free exchange of ideas, spending millions of dollars, in my opinion, $100 million, to have a campus in a country that bans Facebook does not hold up with the values of this university.
Hold on. That's your question.
Point of order.
Max, go on.
Keep going? Okay, so that's part one. Part two, we have 13 undergraduates who have used DKU or participated in DKU since it's open, which granted it's in its infancy still. Meanwhile, the students that I talked to feel that that money could have been spent earlier in improving other areas of campus. For example, we need a new physics building, and yes, I know there's one coming, but money spent in one place means that you have to wait longer to spend money in other places. There's Central Campus, which is falling apart due for renovation, and yes, I know it's coming, but again, we spent money in China, and we could have spent it here. And I think as somebody who talks with students and is trying to be elected by undergraduate students, understanding their priorities is important as well, in addition to understanding what's in the best interest of the university. Look, I'm confident that I can balance both, but also I err on the side of the students because I'm being elected by the students.
All right, any further questions? Senator Graham?
Can you speak more to like the future renovations of Central Campus, like what role you might have in that?
Oh, I was just saying that there's money appropriated to renovating Central Campus in the future. I wasn't saying I'm taking a stance or any role involved to renovate that.
Okay. Any further questions? Vice President?
Are there any reforms to the current housing model that you would find acceptable, and if so, could you identify them?
Yeah, I think if anything, the recruitment numbers for both non-Greek and Greek SLGs suggest that there aren't enough SLGs on this campus. I'm of the ilk that students run social life better than faculty and RCs and RAs. And if anything, I would advocate for Duke to make the housing model more flexible. One thing that's a big issue for Greek groups is they're having trouble filling their sections, and as a result of housing rules, are getting kicked off campus completely instead of just moved somewhere else. So I'm an advocate for that. I think the block size is too small. I think the block size should be expanded as well. If you have a group of 12 students and you're all independent, what's wrong with living together? Why does Duke have to separate 12 independent students and put them on completely opposite sides of campus? And Greek students have the ability to block as a whole without any interference from the administration whatsoever.
Thanks, Max.
Thanks, guys.
Is Jamal Edwards here?
He's on his way.
All right. In the meantime, does anyone have any announcements?
So basically, Duke is thinking about buying a new e-portfolio system. I couldn't really tell you what an e-portfolio system is. I think it's like this database that every student's going to use. It's as important as Sakai, and then you're gonna like connect it to your Instagram or something. You're gonna like, connect it to your Sakai and like put up assignments and things. Michelle, do you know what it is?
Yeah.
Great. Tell us.
So I'm on the IT strategic workforce committee, and we talk about it a lot of time. And basically what they want is like a way for you to showcase like everything you do at Duke throughout your 4 years in the way that administration can also track it. So like if you do an independent study, yeah, sort of, right? So like if you do an independent study, like your major paper would be on there, right? You could have like that with connections on there, and then maybe like link to your LinkedIn or something in the future. It's just a way to encompass like your body of work.
Cool.
I would add one thing, because I just made this connection. There are some of the new certificate programs, including innovation entrepreneurship, have mandatory e-portfolio requirements, which they're currently doing at Duke sites. So this might also be something that we use for like academic purpose.
So it'll be basically like required for students, and Duke is planning on spending a huge amount of money on it. But the couple of programs that we've thought about using so far, like we put together a couple student focus groups that didn't like it. So this last one, it's called Tablet Pad. We're pretty close to buying it, but I need a few students to test it out. And so far, no one has signed up. I really need people to test it out, and I'm unfortunately not going to be in town, but the two times are tomorrow from 2 to 3 or Friday from 1:30 to 2:30. So if you are available, like you're in DSG, right? Like you're supposed to represent students, like this is your job, so you should be doing things like this. It actually is a cool opportunity. You're going to sit down with the president of this company, like this huge company, and you're going to be one of the first 5 students that you can test it out. And literally based on your feedback, you can spend millions of dollars on this program or not. And so I really need students to participate. Sort of as like a last added incentive, I will like buy you something if you want something. I'll like take you to the wall or something. I will take you to the wall if you sign up, which is pretty great, I think. Because you get to go with, yeah.
Where's the sign-up sheet?
Oh, or just basically message me. We're gonna get brunch. If you want to join us at brunch, please sign up. So again, tomorrow 2 to 3, Friday 1:30 to 2:30. I really need 4 more people. Thank you.
We're gonna pause announcements for a moment. Jamal Edwards, are you prepared to speak now, or should I go? Right.
Hello, y'all. Ooh, wow, it's been such a long time since I've been that. All right. I know. So hey y'all, my name is Jamal Edwards. For those who don't know me, I see a lot of familiar faces, but I'm from San Diego, California. Anybody know? No? Okay, I always get one. I'm a global health and journalism double major, global health here at Duke, and journalism at UNC. And so forging those two sort of collective majors together and sort of carving out my own academic path directly informs what I think about sort of the new curriculum review that's just rolled through. But before I get to that, I really want to sort of reflect for a moment about sort of the role of Young Trustee and why I believe I directly fit the bill for the position. So since day one, I've hit the ground running here at Duke. I started as freshman class president, and I had also a short stint on the men's rowing team. If you've seen the Geico commercial, I'm the little guinea pig guy that screams row, row, row. And I also was on, as an RA in Gilbert Adams in Southgate. Okay, also, yeah, I was an RA. And so those collective experiences right there have really sort of informed what I just think about undergraduate life and the role of community building, particularly when you think about people coming together from all walks of life. President Broadhead, he said this, and which I admire him most for, is recognizing that every single year Duke changes. We grow more into ourselves and we become more diverse and inclusive each year by simply admitting a new class. And so in recognizing that the trajectory of Duke and where we go will constantly need to respect diversity and inclusive initiatives. So outside of community building, sort of on the next level, I worked on a lot of the serious issues here. As BSA president, I directly addressed racial harassment and also faculty diversity with senior administration. Serving in Dukes and Duchesses, I worked with tons of senior administrators and interacted regularly with trustees. And so on a national level, I take a lot of my Duke experiences and I apply them to not only what I think about Duke, but just universities at large. I was at the U.S. Department of Education just a week and a half ago with Acting Secretary John Kerry, directly informing their policies on racial harassment, and it's going to be something that we prioritize as universities at large. And so being Young Trustee, it's about understanding Duke and its nuances, but also the direct sort of how we think about the university, how we think about the undergraduate life. And I have a collection of experiences that directly inform that perspective. And I think it's going to be important just to be able to collaborate, to connect with trustees, not only in the boardroom, but also outside of that as well. And so with my sort of nuanced and interesting understanding of Duke, the various things that I've been a part of, I feel that I'm a very strong candidate for the role. This place has my heart since day one, and I show up on the days where Duke lets me down, and we've all had those hard days at Duke. And I think it's in that moment when we have to work at our best to make Duke's best better. So I'll end there and would love to hear some of your guys' questions.
Great, does anyone have any questions? Senators?
So what would be your most important long-term goal for the university? Say, 10-year plan. What do you want the university to accomplish, student body-wise?
So I think something that I would love for the university to continue to do is to continue to carve out its own institutional identity. When I think about institutional advancement, I also think it comes hand to hand with diversity and inclusivity initiatives. And you can address that on several different levels. While the U.S. Department of Education is prioritizing racial harassment, I think there's tons of fronts on like how to sort of establish its academic priorities, just like with the curriculum review, but then also how that works with like mentoring for undergraduate students, and then how that relates to faculty diversity and having a more diverse faculty, and therefore also a more diverse student body. It really will allow Duke to sort of be more cutting edge and just more of a leader in how universities approach diversity initiatives, as opposed to constantly saying, oh, what is Harvard doing, or what is Stanford doing, or they just had this program, we should do it here. I'd like it actually to be reversed, that students there are saying, wow, did you just see the new initiative that Duke is doing, and using us as an institution being the example. Like that's what I want for this institution.
Any further questions? Vice President Leslie.
So I caught the phrase institutional advancement, is that the subcommittee you want to sit on?
Yes.
Okay.
And also undergraduate education, we'll get to who.
Okay, so if you want, for institutional advancement, a lot of what you'll deal with is like the Duke Board campaign, capital campaigns, and alumni relations. If you could like say they kind of a bold idea, or something that you could critique about current capital campaigns or alumni relations.
So I think in terms, so I've taken a lot of, being a journalism major, I've taken a lot of PR classes. And so it was, I didn't know that I was going to be able to apply that knowledge to this, but in terms of the Duke brand, right? I think it's strategic for us to do is sort of to write down what we think of when we think of the name Duke. And we need to do that at all levels, right? So at the global level, domestically, but then also across all lines of socioeconomic diversity. And so first generation or low-income students, what are the things that they think of when they think of the Duke brand? And so in terms of institutional advancement and also just like how Duke markets itself throughout these Duke Forward campaigns, through the various commercials that we publicize, like how are we staying true to our mission of diversity and inclusivity and like representing what the best of Duke is and what the future of Duke is? How are we communicating that? What are the messages there? And how can we make sure that it's both elite but also down to earth? Because I think just with that Duke brand, we could either marginalize or push greater distance to some communities, while also sort of remaining sort of prestigious and competitive. So it's an interesting and delicate balance. But I think my unique perspective, just given all the different communities that I've been a part of at Duke, will sort of bring some new life to that community.
Any further questions? Senator Chang.
You talked about making Duke a model university for other universities to like to work with. Do you have any projects in specific that you want to work on to make it such?
Not new projects. I think one of the issues with Duke is communication and not being able to tie together all the incredible things that we have going on. I think that can often be disjointed. So we have, for example, the Duke Advising Corps. We have the brand new Duke Washington Scholars Program for first-generation students. And I feel like there's so much initiatives around diversity and inclusivity, but they're not sort of like marketed in this cohesive way to make, the rest of the world aware of them, right? And so we really have to strategize. I would like to see Duke do a better job of communicating those things and like making it a part of the Duke identity and branding that as a part of its mission. Again, so like when you think of Duke, you also think of like, hey, I can do that too. Because I once was that first generation college student, afraid to death to come here because I didn't think I was going to do well. But I want it to be sort of a more holistic approach to that. And I think I also have a lot of interesting thoughts on like Duke and John, and I can also talk about as well. But I know that's another thing institutional.
Any further questions? You have 30 seconds to talk about it.
Okay.
Oh, I was gonna just ask, what's your perspective on TV? Look at that.
Wow. Spot on. Yeah, so I think Duke and Kuchan is again, really important for us to continue this establishment of our academic and institutional identity, right? I think we need to make more steps on the programmatic side. We just sent out sort of like the first group who studied abroad there, and I think there was a lot of controversial feedback, not only about distance challenges to accessing things in Shanghai, but to sort of like intellectual vitality and people being stimulated by the curriculum. And so I think we need to better work on how we're going to brand that and really give it the spirit and essence of Duke. And so like I know they're having a sit down with the students that went just now, and they're going again, I believe in like April or May. But I would really want to sort of not spearhead, but provide a lot of thoughts on like programmatically, just from being an RA, being so focused on the student experience here at Duke, of being able to take that and then make sure that it's sort of keeping the integrity of the Duke brand, right? Because the Duke's name is on it, and so therefore has to meet a series of standards and principles and a certain spirit that we have vibrating on this campus. So I care a lot about Duke and Kuchan.
Thank you, Jamal.
Thank you.
Does anyone else have any further announcements? Section 4 topics.
What?
Yes, you.
Me?
reminder, General Dempsey's coming in 2 weeks. And he'll be here at 6:30, so we'll have General Dempsey from 6:30 to 7:30, and then we'll have Senate immediately afterwards. So 17th, 6:30.
Do we have to change our dress code to be nicer?
Does everybody know that General Dempsey?
Yes.
Hopkins, can you say it a little louder? Repeat more up secret.
Yeah, we were having a question about or a discussion about attire. I mean, I'm not gonna we can't kick you out if you're not dressed appropriately, but this is the chairman of the Joint Chiefs, we expect you to be dressed well, so we'll cover that
Just to reiterate
tomorrow.
what he said, please dress business casual. This man is doing the support most powerful member of the American military. So I urge you to show respect to his
So
Any announcements?
tuxedos. Anyone else? I would.
Hopkins, what is it again?
17, 2 weeks.
2 weeks. Any further announcements? One announcement, popular production that students put forward at our school is the Me Too monologues, if you haven't heard of it. It's held every 4th, 5th, 12th, and 13th, 7:30 p.m. Kezra and Senator Michael Gulchek are in it, so if you guys could support them, that'd be great. That's it. Moving forward, if there are no more further announcements, special presentations, reports. Vice President Sarah Gonzalez, you can sit down.
Hey, sorry, so this is kind of more last minute, but I just wanted to talk to you guys a little bit about the curriculum, and hopefully I'll make this quick, and it'll be more of an informal discussion. But I don't know, does anyone really have an idea on what the curriculum is going to look like? I don't know if you guys have been reading up on it. Yeah, basically no one. So just a very quick summary, and then if people are interested, I can give a longer presentation on this next week. But it's essentially we're getting rid of all the TRECs, points of inquiry, areas of knowledge, etc., and replacing it with 5 expectations for things that you need to do. So you need to learn cultural competency, quantitative, some sort of statistical science, etc. And you can just fill those 5 expectations any way you want. There's a big debate brewing about pass-fail, and so basically the discussion that we had at exec was just to open up to sort of a Senate perspective, because a lot of you guys are first years, on if you think that we should push for a pass-fail policy or not. So essentially, what we're doing in the curriculum is that all courses, you can pass-fail them, and you can use them towards your course credit, and you can use them towards filling out your expectations. That doesn't mean that you can use pass-fail to complete your major or your minor. So if you're taking a math major, you can't do multivariable calculus pass-fail potentially, but you have a lot more freedom to do pass-fail. And then the administration is considering doing something called exploration classes, which means that you can take 4 classes and then retroactively pass-fail them. So if you do really badly and get a D in a class, you could just pass-fail it on your transcript, but this is optional. So that means that some students will end up using it, some students won't end up using it. Whether it's optional or not is up for discussion. But what I ran for election 4 last year was to pass-fail your freshman fall, and I know I've talked about that before. Now that's something that administrators said that they didn't want to move forward with unless there was, a big student outpouring of support for it. So we can go forth and get a petition signed and get students excited about the idea of pass-fail freshman fall. The only thing is I don't know for sure that students want it, right? It's something that I think is a good idea, but other members of exec don't necessarily think so. So, Senate, again, we're supposed to be representative of students at Duke, so this is a perfect forum for us to discuss, should we have pass-fail freshman fall? Another option is that we have 2 pass-fails freshman fall, 2 pass-fails freshman spring, and you can pass-fail 2 classes mandatory both semesters. Another option is that we pass-fail the sophomore fall, and that means that you have done a year of school, so now you know how to study. Hopefully you won't, not study that sophomore fall. The big argument against pass-failing the freshman fall is that students, and this is important, specifically if you're a first year, so try to think back to what last semester was like. The problem is administrators think that students, basically, their freshman fall won't figure out how to study. You won't learn how to handle 4 classes, plus joining extracurricular, plus doing a lot of other things. So you get to sophomore, you get to your freshman spring, and now you're 10 days and rushing and taking 4 classes for credit, and all of a sudden you don't know how to study for those classes because you never learned how to. Now, I'm of the opinion that that's not going to happen because I think the Duke students care about their grades more. And I'm advocating for a shadow transcript, which means that you still find out what grade you got in the class, but it's not on your official transcript. Your official transcript just says pass, 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 pass. So this is just like I'm not supposed to be talking at you guys too much. Like this is supposed to be sort of an informal discussion. Maybe we can do like 5 or 10 minutes. You can just watch the clock. But specifically first years, I'm looking at you guys. Like just be really candid. Do you think that you would have not really studied your freshman fall? Do you think that you wouldn't have learned how to study? Do you think that this would adversely affect you? Or do you think that the potential for intellectual curiosity would have been better? Do you think you wouldn't have become so entrenched in the idea that your GPA matters, things like that? So really I'm looking at creating a culture shift by pass failing freshman fall. Also just to point out, like MIT does this, Caltech does this, Spartan does this, Johns Hopkins does it. So a lot of schools do it, like you can still get into med school, it'll be just fine. So that's not really like, those logistical errors I think are mine. So could we just sort of maybe just open such discussion in terms of calling people?
5 minutes?
Yeah.
Start.
So I think it's a great concept.
Yeah.
I see 2 potential roadblocks with the freshman fall
Yeah.
idea. I think what's optimal being the strong supporters of the freshman fall pass fail are none other than incoming freshmen, because they're the ones who will be directly affected by it. And it's very hard to rally their support, because most of them haven't committed to the university yet, and then you're trying to reach out to some.
That's not really an issue. It's more like if students in general think it's a good idea, we're going to do it.
Well, yes, and you'll probably get a fair portion of current students who have passed their freshman fall who would support it because it's that philosophy of, oh, I want them to go through what I have to go through, kind of thing. But it won't be the kind of support you'll get from kids who have it in their future, and it's not coming. Second,
We'll come back to you.
yeah.
I have a question about, you said doing 2 in the fall and the spring. Do you get to pick which classes you pass fail?
Yeah. So you get to choose which 2 you want to pass fail. Like focus might decide that you can't pass fail it. There might be some classes that professors are like, you can't do this pass fail. That's unlikely, but it's a possibility. It makes classes a little weird, right? Because like half the students might be pass failing it, half the students might not be. So the grade distribution is going to look a little bit inflated, but I'm not worried about that. But yeah, that's an option.
Senator Virginia?
So it seems like there's kind of a conflict between preserving the ability of students to sort of explore what they want and take a risk because they may have a passion for something, and preserving the academic integrity of youth. Because if we make this too, I guess, widestream and easy, this is going to be people who are just going to abuse the system kind of, and just pass fail the really hard courses all the time, keep a really high GPA. So how can we kind of preserve both without ending up like Brown, where you can just pass fail everything?
Right, so the idea is that we don't cater. So the idea is like we don't cater to the lowest common denominator, right? So like I have no doubt that there's going to be a kid that pays $250,000, comes to Duke and pass fails all of his hard classes. And that's really dumb, right? Like I don't think he's going to get what he wants out of that curriculum, he or she. Also, for a lot of students who want to go to graduate school or do other things, if you want to complete a major, you can't pass fail all your classes. There'll be some students who do that, but I think that if we feel that the majority of students will pass fail in measured amounts for intellectual curiosity purposes, I think it's totally worth it. If someone wants to come and waste their tuition, I don't care.
Senator Gilligan?
Can I have permission to ask a 2-part question where the second one's?
You're allowed.
Thank you. Can you tell me what the language requirement's going to look like in the next?
That's what everyone wants to know. There is no language requirement technically, so you don't have to take like 3 semesters. Everyone's like, dear God. So you don't have to take the 3 semesters of a language. You have to fulfill, one of your expectations has a language portion, but you could say like, I did Duke engage in Jordan and I spoke Arabic for 2 months and I got really good at Arabic and that counts. And if you can argue that that counts, it counts. So.
That answers the second part of the question.
Fabulous.
So, moving on up beyond like first year, like you said that there'd be some pass fails for classes that aren't your major. Is there a cap on how many?
So basically, you can pass fail any class you wanted to. Now for your major, depending on your major, so biology is 16 classes, they might decide you can't pass fail any of them to finish your major. Whereas psychology might say that you can pass fail all of them. So it's going to depend per major. My intuition would tell me that the majors are going to say you can't pass fail the 4 classes, maybe the electives. Other than that though, you could pass fail any of your electives if you wanted to. Again, I wouldn't, but you could.
Senator Shaw.
So in terms of the foreign language requirement, what kind of impact is that going to have on departments? Because I know that, especially for like not anything outside Spanish and Italian, like I know the Hindi department A and has maybe 5 people in each of their 300 level classes on like a typical year, and that's just because of that language requirement. So what happens? Like, are those options just gone because there won't be enough students in them?
Right, so
or-
they downsize, so it's all just about supply and demand. If students don't really want to take Hindi at a 300 level, we're not going to offer it every semester. So it just is what students demand. So yeah, some departments are going to get cut down. I mean, that's like, admin has not said that at all. That's just what my intuition tells me when I think about how classes operate. I don't know about that at all. I know that's being reported, so I'm going to correct myself. I have no idea. I have no idea what's going to happen. My assumption is that some departments will end up getting cut down because students will take classes, but there's no guarantee of that. Yeah, I have no idea. I love the Hindi department. Don't quote me on Chronicle.
That's not a department, by the way.
Don't quote me on that either, Chronicle.
So what if we did pass-fail for 2 classes your first semester? That way it's not like completely that you are just going from grades not really counting to having like a full 4 classes and like you said, rush and like probably extracurriculars picking up. That, like if you had 2, then maybe it could like ease the transition and it'll allow you to take like 2 harder classes or classes you might not normally take, but still giving you like some concept of what it is to have like real classes.
Yeah, no, I think it's a good option, right? So either we could do 4 fall, or we can do 2 fall, or we can do 2 fall, 2 spring. So yeah, I mean, Senator Sweet was a good scope this.
5 minutes has elapsed. Is there a motion to extend the speaker chapter?
Motion to extend.
Okay, is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
All those approved?
Nay.
All right, Senator
Wait, you
Palmazan.
said nay?
Mitch.
Mitch? Really mean.
Senator Palmazan.
The reason I like this is a good idea is like the policies. I don't think it's a good idea to condition first semester freshmen to just get it out to pass. You know, just do not get high. Whereas, you know, when they're jumping into the spring semester, where they all of a sudden have four letters in, you know, grading classes, all of a sudden it's, oh, you know, how much am I putting for a B? How much am I putting for an A?
Yeah, so the one thing that we like to do on exec is like informal straw polls. So could we just like, if you haven't been paying attention, just like pretend to pay attention now, just do like an informal straw poll about, do we think that pass-fail in all 4 classes in the freshman fall is going to adversely affect students' abilities to handle, George, put your hand down, adversely affect your ability to handle your first year spring? Can we just do like a straw poll, like yes and no? So yes and no. Okay. And can we just do like an informal straw poll? How many people like the idea of a 2 fall, 2 spring system, and we're going to go yes and no again? Just plain yes. No. And the people who are saying no, is that because you guys think that we shouldn't do pass-fail at all, or you like the freshman fall system better?
Can I?
And then no 2, and then not 2 in the spring.
Tara.
Oh, that's interesting. Can anyone articulate why not doing the 2 in the spring? Marta?
I did it at my high school. Our first semester there, it was a boarding school, so like it was obviously kind of like college where you have a big transition period. And it was helpful for me to have a couple of classes pass-fail, but also helpful to realize that you had to work hard in these classes to get the grades that you want to achieve. So you're not completely just milling about your first semester with pass-fails, like you said, in classes that you're taking.
Senator Graham.
Yeah, so with the freshman fall thing, I don't, at most I would go 2, but I would say 0 actually, just because I think that you're here at college, like you're thrown in the fire, like everybody has struggled through it. Like I don't think that it's that much of a disadvantage to not have them, and also like I would be more in favor of, instead of that system, just going and saying retroactively, like at the end of your time or whatever, you could pass-fail 2 classes, because that would eliminate more rather than having to distinguish at the beginning what you had to take.
Yeah, so maybe just really quickly, let me just articulate why I thought that was pass-fail. I didn't really explain it too much why I think it's a good idea. So there are basically like just a couple of big reasons. So one, I think students come to Duke and are immediately conditioned to think that their GPA is more important than intellectual curiosity. 2, I think you come to Duke, you take a bunch of classes, maybe you get like a C in Econ 101, because Econ 101 is kind of a dumb class, sorry. I don't like them being recorded. Econ 101 is a great class, but like, it's not representative of the and so you decide not to be an econ major just because you didn't do well in the intro class. And then 3, yeah, students like realize a lot, like you're coming in on a different playing field depending on if you went to a private school or a public school or what AP classes you had. So some students are just disadvantaged right off the bat because they're not used to the rigor. So I think those are sort of the 3 main reasons. I just realized I didn't articulate that before, so just to
Senator Hardy.
I kind of like the idea of the 2 in the spring, because then you get to experiment with like outside of class experiences too, not just like since so many more opportunities come up in the spring, and you kind of get to see like gauging time and how well you can manage your time.
Yeah, okay.
Senator Speed.
If people decide to have a major with a class that they took pass-fail, does the grade then show up? Like freshman fall, I take bio,
Yeah.
whatever.
So I'm gonna say, I definitely think that no matter what you take, you should get a shadow transcript. So I'm gonna go ahead and say intuitively, yes. That if I had to advocate for something, that's.
Wait, and then also, are you nervous about classes like Econ 101, say it's like mostly freshmen, but then some sophomores? All of the freshmen are taking it pass-fail, so it doesn't really matter. So the sophomores like are gonna do better with a curve or something that has a curve.
Yeah, so that's why I said that I think Duke is going to seem a little inflated. Because it's, I mean, so
that
my,
seems like really beneficial.
Right, so like my assumption, right, is that even if you're taking pass-fail, you're taking it and you're going to study as hard as you can.
Okay.
That's unrealistic, but that's really the assumption that I think the paradigm that we have to go with when we talk about pass-fail. And so, yeah, right, like probably there are going to be people who aren't working as hard. Now, everyone's going to get a grade in the pass, so the curve is going to stay the same. But likely, if you're pass-failing it, maybe you're going to be okay with a B- instead of A-.
Yeah.
So yes, some other students aren't going to be a pass-fail better, which is why Duke will seem a little inflated. Again, I think that it's a cost-benefit that's worth it.
Just out of curiosity, have we, as the administration review, spoken to other universities that do this?
Yeah, so basically the idea was like every university thinks that their university system is the best system. So everyone that does it is like, this is the greatest thing. And they don't, so I specifically have asked, did students do worse their first year spring at schools that have the system and schools that don't? And the schools that do the system said that that's not true. They said that students are able to handle it just fine. And that's because the type of students that's going to MIT or Johns Hopkins or Duke is a motivated student that cares about their grades. At least that's the structure that I like to take. So every school that does it said that it works really well. So that's why I'm optimistic. I've spoken to a couple of grad students who did it when they were undergrads, who now go to Duke, who also said that it was a really incredible system, that they loved the pass-fail freshman fall. I've yet to talk to anyone who didn't like it, but I've talked to a small sample size. Yeah.
How are we going to do the transition to this school? You might be thinking a little too far ahead.
Just like how would it logistically work? I mean, just basically the freshmen that start at Duke in 2017, maybe 2018, they'll be taking classes, these are pass-fail. And that first semester might be kind of weird in terms of inflation, but yeah, it's a pretty easy logistical approach. Yeah, we just have to tell students that's what we're doing.
5 minutes is elapsed unless there's.
Can we just do another 5 minutes and then we can end early? This is actually a really important conversation we need to have. And I'm in meetings a lot about it, and I just want everyone's opinions.
I rescind my motion. I move to extend by 5 minutes.
For a second.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
All opposed?
Yeah.
All right. Senator Shaw.
So you're saying that pass-fail will encourage intellectual curiosity, but a lot of the classes you take coming into Duke through freshman year are intro classes that you have to before you get to those electives, where you can actually explore a subject and take something that's like a harder 300 level that may be more out of your system. So like, just as a thought, like, have you talked at all about instead of saying like 2 pass-fail classes your freshman fall, 2 pass-fail classes at any point during your Duke career?
Well, yeah.
So instead of having my freshman, because like I frankly feel like I use my freshman year a lot to learn how to study. I think if you're applying to grad school, they'll look at that upward trajectory. So the fact that your freshman fall is a little rough is fine. I'd rather have that than like a really pretty sophomore year.
So just to sort of address that, yeah, basically the idea of like you're gonna get pass-fails to use your whole Duke career. We're talking about additional pass-fails that freshman fall. So like, yeah, we're already definitely gonna do that. So you could like pass-fail your entire sophomore fall if you wanted to, because you could use your 4 exploration classes in 1 semester. So we're definitely gonna have that. But sort of on that first point you made about how freshmen use that fall to do a bunch of intro classes to take other things. You really don't have to take intro classes to take a lot of the cool electives. You don't, right? And you actually don't really have to take intro classes to take the 201 or the 301 or the 302. Students just opt to take it because it feels safer and because they think like you know, maybe this is gonna help me figure out what I wanna do with my life. But frankly, you'll figure out if you wanna be an econ major, not by taking econ 101, but by taking like corporate finance or something.
Yeah, but in like bio departments, for example, like you have to take 201 and 202 before they'll let you into like 430. Like, I don't know, like.
I mean, I've taken 3 bio classes this week, I never took 201 or 203 or whatever. So, I mean, you can definitely take a lot of electives that I think are way more indicative of the major. But yeah, let's do that.
Yeah, so, and I would say, as like a first year student, that I would have liked to have had that my fall, because like I took organic
All
chemistry.
4 or 2?
Just, something. So I mean, maybe these models sound good because like I took organic chemistry, and like that was an experience, right? And like so, and that was me trying to figure out if I was interested in the chemistry department as a major of mine. That was me trying to figure out if I was interested in industry health. So even though that's 201, that's still an intro level course. That is an introduction to the chemistry department. And so, and then I would have also been interested in taking Econ 101 if I had heard it was like this, had like this weed out reputation, which I think is problematic. But if it's going to be here, like if we're going to have weed out courses at Duke, then people should be able to take a penalty so that someone like if you didn't have AP Econ in high school could take Econ 101, which is the only game allowed to take it. You know, that's the case, and not feel like I'm, you know, screwing up my GPA just because I'm interested to see what economics is and what I'm interested in that field.
Okay.
So, like, I think that's just as important as intellectual curiosity as taking up a
So
level.
maybe just think a little bit about like, would your study habits change if you talk about those classes, and if you like 2 model versus 4 model, and you get back to me?
Right, yeah.
So you have a problem.
So you said, like hypothetically, the biology department requires 16 classes for a major.
Yeah.
And 0 of those can pass fail. Would there be like an exemption if these classes were taken during the freshman fall, if they were all 4 pass fail? Because otherwise, then you have to like wait to take classes and then you'd be behind. Or you could just take 4 ridiculously. You could take like mostly econ.
So like logistically, there might be some majors that are like, you can't take a really high level class pass fail, but with each department, we work with each department to be like, we're forcing freshmen to take their freshman fall pass fail, so like make some adjustments for them. So yeah, if you took like the intro class, your freshman fall, they'd probably be okay with that taking pass fail.
So you're comparing this plan to like MIT and Johns Hopkins, but they don't have temping or recruitment in the spring, whereas we do. So how do we take that stress of having to like learn to not like take classes for a grade and have temping and potentially recruitment and just like all of that? Like,
Yeah, I mean, every university has their stressors, right? So like MIT has whatever other things that they do, right? I think it's important to know that temping and recruitment are not mandatory things for students to do.
But we also know that like 70% of students do that. Or
I'm
like really high
okay, so I don't know percentages, but right, but the idea is that just because you have multiple responsibilities, I don't think precludes you from being able to learn how to study. Especially when you have so much freedom now your freshman fall, you can dedicate so much time to dedicating to your classes and learning how to study. I just have more faith in Duke students. Like I just think that when we come to Duke, we care about class, we care about getting good grades. And so I just think that like, you're not gonna fail your 4 classes your freshman fall just because you can. Or you're gonna get D's. Like I just don't think that's what students are like. But maybe I'm overestimating what we're getting.
So my concern is like, the goal of pass fail is to encourage like,
Intellectual curiosity.
Curiosity, like exploring new classes. So let's say you explore and take, like, you're trying to see if you want to be an econ major. You take econ 101 pass fail. And then you realize, oh, I really like econ, now I'm going to major in it. And then, even though you took a pass fail.
Yeah, so either have a shadow transcript and it'll be converted to a grade if your major requires it for a grade, or they'll let it fail.
So then, like, because it's exploratory or whatever, or your curiosity, there will be a lot of kids that actually like pick that as their major and as their classes they take pass fail. That's absolutely.
Well, so for something like Econ 101, the Econ department won't make you get a grade for that because they know that a lot of students will take it during the exploratory period. So, I mean, again, this is going to be like on an individual course basis, but just let's make the assumption as a group that that the intro classes will be taken pass fail and go prepare.
Yeah, so I'm just thinking in terms of if you study abroad as well, and a lot of study abroad stuff is pass fail, so then I feel like it would be like 12 of your like 32 credits are pass fail. That seems kind of a lot. It puts a lot of pressure on the classes that are pass fail too for your GPA. So do you not think that it's a bit of an overcommittal to have that many options for pass fail? Do you get what I'm saying?
Yeah, so basically, so just to clarify the 12 number, so the 4 requires freshman fall, yes, or 2 fall spring required. In terms of like the going abroad, I think that that's a choice that you make, and that really
Like a lot of
people.
students do go
Right, like 30 to 40% of students. But and then the other 4 sort of like exploratory classes you can choose to use or not use. So I'm gonna go with sort of like, I'm gonna just sort of stay with the base 4 number because everything else is optional.
But like, I mean, I know they're optional, but it is something that a ton of Duke students do. So it is something that I think would be a huge factor, almost half of Duke students. So
Yeah, I mean, your other classes count for more, but again, I don't see why that's like a bad thing, right? Like if you get to choose what classes you get to take, which ones count for credit, you should have no problem with the classes you count for credit.
yeah, I just think it like really seems to lower the sample size of what your GPA is coming from. It seems kind of crazy to have a GPA just based on like, 5 semesters instead of 8. That seems kind of, I mean, just like.
Yeah, but I mean, what is the word crazy, right? Like what's, like, I just sort of see that as like a subjective understanding of what your GPA should be. So I just don't think that your GPA shouldn't have to be 34 classes, it could be 17 classes, right? The reason why it's crazy is because relative to the status quo, it's different, but it's not crazy because it's bad. So.
Okay, one more question.
Ooh. Which one do you pick? I mean, this is your job, not my job. This is what you prepared for. You're the contact, you want this. Right. It's all in your head. Okay, so what we'll do is just after this meeting, I'll be around. So if you have questions, comments, like please just talk to me. Senator Sullivan.
Is there a reason why this isn't an opt-out thing? Or like we can't do an opt-out thing?
Yeah, so I just don't think that the optional model works because once it's optional, students don't do it, right? Like, once it's optional, if I'm going to be applying to a consulting firm and you're applying to a consulting firm, then I don't want my transcript to say that I pass fail for freshman fall. You don't pass fail your freshman fall because then I look like I'm a lazy, poop. So, poor choice of words there. It's like, comes in on that one. So just when you make it optional, right? Like students just don't do it because we're all it's got to be mandatory. Sorry. I think that's pretty fair.
Yeah, no, that's fair. I'm just asking why, because that makes sense. That makes sense now. But it's also kind of like, the more, when you make it mandatory, it makes people scared because then they're like, oh god.
But also it's like, now that it's mandatory, it's like, dude, I couldn't do anything, it was mandatory.
Yeah,
so like when you're applying to med school, you're not disadvantaged. But all the other Duke students, because everyone has to do it. Honestly, that's kind of, I think that's like actually cool, so I'm gonna just be like hanging around after the meeting, so please come talk to me if you have thoughts on this. I get Senator Sweet has a thought.
Tara, is there question time? Exactly, please me know.
We can just continue asking questions.
I don't even know why I put that word. Like that was you can ask executive. Honestly, I was
Guys, please lower your voices. Any questions for exec? Senator?
Yeah, Tara. Tara, have they awarded the iPads and stuff?
So if you won, you have been emailed.
It's a sham. Does that include the gift cards and stuff?
And I was looking at the list, and I didn't know a single person on the list. And also, everyone who won had the most insane name. I was like, there's no way these are real people. These are like fake people that the provost made up. No, they're all real. I like Facebook stalks of them. So, sorry, none of you guys won iPads. I actually looked, and I was really.
Yeah, what about the gift cards?
Gift cards? A couple of you guys won gift cards, and I know who you are. But I can't tell you. And you'll get an email, I think tomorrow. And then basically I have to like just sit in a room for like 5 hours and then hand them out. So I will see a couple of you in 2 Fridays when I'm going to be giving them. So yeah, I'm sorry that you have to wait 2 Fridays for your free Oh, the numbers did go up. I can't tell you specifically what the numbers are, but they went up. provost and the vice provost are super happy. I don't know how much I'm allowed to say. They went up considerably. But now the problem is we're trying to figure out, thanks, I did that. Yeah, I did bribe a bunch of people to help do that. So we're just trying to figure out like what to do this semester to get the numbers up even further, because we can't keep giving out iPads.
More iPads.
Because that's more tuition that we're giving away iPads. So one idea was like, wait, yeah, actually, what do you guys think about this idea? We just kind of came up with it today. Every person that like finishes all their course evals, you get to pick a charity, and then $10 are donated in your name to that charity.
I love it.
I want the $10. I want the 10. Yeah, I want the 10.
So would you not be motivated by this charity thing? Like Shelby's super down, but no one else is down.
I'm down, and I think what we could do is show them something.
$10 to like the student group of your choice. And then like
This is like 40%.
I know that's what it sounds like, but like then whole student groups would really rally around it.
That's actually not a bad idea. I don't know if we're
Or just give us all $10.
Guys, let one person speak at a time.
Guys, I know that what I'm saying is super exciting. We all want to talk about it. Don't. That's kind of interesting. Okay, that's something to think about. Like, give your money to your story. Yeah, Michelle, that's
Two things. One, maybe if you have a journal-based organization, and
Yeah.
like the rest of the year, and then two, will you officially like publish some sort of chronicle statement or Facebook things, just so people know that like officially iPads were given to others?
Right, do people think that this was all fake? I think Guys, it wasn't.
Get a picture of someone.
Yeah, we're gonna publish the names on the DSG page after the iPads were picked up. That's because we had like theft concerns that people would come steal them from me or something. So don't try to steal things from me, I don't even have them. We're gonna publish them in the Chronicle and on the page. Hopefully in the Chronicle.
So like I get that all these are interesting incentives, but if it's all coming out of tuition, why can't you just give people the $10 and let them do what they want with it?
I mean, like, would you just, I'm not trying to pay people to fill out their form, that feels wrong.
$10, like, okay, versus giving $10
It's not like actually your
story, like.
tuition, it's like probably the guy next to your tuition. Like, that was a joke. No, it's actually not coming out of tuition, it's coming out of like some budget.
Okay, so at some point it came out of
Probably
tuition.
funded by tuition. I don't know. Yeah, I mean, look, we'll think about different incentive mechanisms. I don't want to pay people to fill out their course evals. The idea of like donating to
But like you
charities is
indirectly
valid.
are, you're like, when you donate something.
No, it's altruism. It's like you feel good about yourself. Right.
Philosophy later. Senator Curtis?
Just think of ideas.
Oh, no, I don't think, I think somebody asked me a question.
I have to answer this.
Oh, it's about course evals.
VP Wiseman, do you have any special updates?
I do, so this is really exciting. I know, I'm so planted. So as of today, we're the only school that's going to be piloting something called Campus Answers, which is basically a diversity program online for before you get to school. One doesn't currently exist for entering college students or for college students, only about higher ed and for current administrators and staffers and professors. So we're going to be piloting one. So I have like 5 or 6 pilot programs. I'm going to need a horde of volunteers to help actually go through them and watch them. And it's basically like Alcohol EDU, the same idea. And we're going to give feedback to this company, and then the company in exchange is going to let us keep demoing them. When we come to one we like, we're going to bring it to student affairs and see if we can make it a requirement for students as we planned. It's really exciting that it's happening. I'm really excited about it. Weirdly brokered, questionably ethical deal, but like super exciting. I'll send out a list of people to sign, a list for people to sign up on. Sorry, I lost my train of thought.
That's all, folks.
So yeah, there are 5 different ones. I'll give brief descriptions and I'll have all of you sign up. I really appreciate it. If you could sign up, we'll do them mostly on the weekends. I'll bring food. So check Facebook for that when I come with my computer again. I could take them to the Wazoo, but I can't drive right now because I'm concussed.
She had a concussion this weekend, and she's still here in London.
Don't
Not
snap,
Meanwhile, last week,
She survived her one driving.
Senator Shelby, I have a 2-part question. First part, we got the Super Bowl. Second part, Bronx.
Super Bowl this weekend?
Yes.
Dolphins.
We did, oh actually, fun fact, we did like new gatekeeper, or head gatekeeper. But
this is a question for Annie, beyond the Super Bowl question, go Cam. What are you doing to get the vote out for the Young Trustee election in less than a week?
Oh, yeah, that's fun. That's actually not what I was fishing for, but, so DSB is actually releasing a video on the outlines, kind of what the Young Trustee is, kind of what you guys already know, but to help the wider student body, and that has details on how to vote. It'll link to all the candidates' Facebook, not Facebook pages, their websites. And it's gonna be really cool, so definitely like share anything you can. I'm sure DSG, maybe we could like put out like a graph or something saying like, vote, maybe we'll do the whole, I don't know, maybe we'll vote, I don't know. But we're gonna try out and like do get out the vote. I'll let you guys know about that, because it's on Tuesday to Wednesday, because I'm working that like wonky thing. But my other event, or my other idea, was that we were gonna do, we did a escape room for all of Senate, or not for all of Senate, we did an escape room, except did an escape room, and it was the hardest one. I don't know if anybody knows what the escape room is, where you like get locked in a room, you have to like find a bunch of clues. Like, shockingly, we didn't murder each other, and then
as you can
we got
see,
out
we
in 55 minutes.
George, just go back.
It's go fish.
She likes calling this.
It's okay. People can call me whatever they want. It's fine. I get scooped this a lot. So pitch a project.
Okay. I swear it's happening, but we just have to wait for the graphic to finish.
The graphic designer got
The graphic designer had a concussion like right before it was done. So that's the only reason why I had to launch. Everything else is ready to go.
Okay, awesome.
Should we just give people helmets or something?
Yeah, so hopefully, actually, like, the pitch project I think is gonna be really, really cool. Hopefully it's gonna be happening super soon. Norwalk is really committed to it, even though he doesn't look or sound like
Even though it's
What up, Bernard? Oh.
Kavita!
What's with the West Union wall painting thing happening?
Oh, that's coming. Oh wait, the one
Like
inside. Did you see the Chronicle article? Art of the
Nope.
West Union thing. It's a really cool article. Senator Anna Corinne Hess is heavily featured in it. Yeah, that's happening. Different groups submitted projects for the with the theme of the art of science. And
that's
three
that.
different,
I
yeah,
thought it was
three different
different.
locations in the West Union. The lighting is already going in, all of the tech stuff is going in, and they're getting ready to like assemble the actual pieces to install it. So it'll be there as soon as the building opens. You'll be able to see beautiful, cool art of science stuff.
So kind of a two-part question. I think one could be this. We also designed a student mural where anybody could kind of paint messages. Like we approved that last semester.
Yeah.
Sort of like the tunnel on East Campus.
Yeah, that is. I can give you the location of that. That is going up on. So this is like a mural wall that we're talking about, and that is going up. So you know the plaza like connecting from the Bryanton to the 10th Pavilion, not like the other one. So you know how if you're walking past the bookstore, there's like two big, gigantic blank walls of stone. Those are the walls.
Okay.
So we're gonna build a wall.
So the second.
No, John, we're not building a wall.
The second component regarding the project. Are the applications, like the questions, are those all settled, ready to be sent out?
Yeah, we approved them last semester. Yeah.
It's literally just ready to be launched.
Any further questions for Exec? Thank you.
Again,
Because I knew it.
SOC Chairman Kilgore, are you here? If you're leaving, please let Executive Secretary Wong know. Dylan and Michael Martin.
So we have two SOC events today. So we'll start with the Asian Student Association one. They're having their Lunar New Year showcase. They've had for, they said the past 20 years, but like, so anyway, basically they usually They usually have it in Reynolds, which has a capacity of 600, but they always sell out. So this year they're doing it in Page, and they're doing it 2 nights. So SOC decided that we're just going to fund the Page auditorium and everything they need for 2 nights, which is going to be a total of $7,200. We're not going to fund them their food or anything like that, but basically they say that they get at least 600 tickets or more sold for each of those nights, which is why they want to do it in Page. So we are covering their cost for Page for 2 nights, and basically flyering and that's it.
It's also the year of
Anyway, a ton of people go to this thing. They've had it for many years, so we're just funding Page for 2 nights.
Any questions? Alright, seeing none, we're now live for protecting negative against the program request. Would anyone like to speak against the recommended SOC legislation?
Can we go back? Sorry.
Yeah, sorry.
No, I'm sorry. I think this happened in my mind.
Yeah.
So is this enough? This is enough to make sure the event more runs, correct?
Yes.
And they're cool with this amount. They don't feel like they're like.
No, we're not funding their food because they told us the food is gonna. If we funded their food, it would be first for the performers, and then after the performers finish their meals, it is open to the public. We decided not to fund the pavilion. So anyway.
Okay.
So anyway, all we're funding is Page and then advertising.
So I see on here, why is it split up, why is it split up like the LCD?
Yeah, so because they, like there's a lot of additional costs that go into Page.
Okay, so it's all separated.
Yeah, so they had those 6 and then like Page itself has like a cost and things like that.
Okay, so how much is Page, like how much is their venue all?
$7,200.
Okay.
To have the event, they need $7,200 for those 2 nights because they need the venue. Yeah.
Are there any further questions? Seeing none, we move to vote. Since there was no opposition, all those in favor of approving this SOC recommended legislation, say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? All right.
And the second event is Do Art's second annual, what is this called? ArtCon. So they had it last year. SOC funded them $16,500 last year. This year, we're choosing to fund them $13,345, or what's it? Yep, $345. So the Do Arts was going to come in, but they can't at all. But I think that I can pretty much explain everything that they have here. So every year, what they do is they get 30 notable alumni from Do Arts, like people who are in careers in the arts and things like that, and they fund them to come to Duke and basically have this entire event centered around these alumni trying to help kids interested in arts at Duke get jobs. So last year we also funded them the $5,000 for 30 alumni to come, which we thought that was really reasonable amount of money. Given the amount of people that are coming and given the fact that there aren't a lot of opportunities like this on campus. And everything else is pretty much straightforward. They're having a huge gala, just like last year, in Penn Pavilion, and so we're funding Penn Pavilion and any food that they have there.
Are we good, like, do we feel like we're good on the programming front in terms of how we're spending our money right now?
So we're getting less requests, but this is a cost that we knew was coming in. Okay. So because of that, it was planned. Once again, we funded $16,000 last year on it. Then again, I completely understand like why you would feel that this is a large amount of money for 2 days. So I mean,
yeah. No, it's not necessarily specifically this. I'm just more asking, like, we're still like on track.
Yeah. So you can check our balance. I updated after our Senate meeting. Yeah. It's in the SOC folder.
Okay.
It says SOC balance. So you can check what we have there. But like this is something that we knew was coming. So therefore we were like planning for it. Yeah.
Do you know when this event is?
Yeah, February 26th.
Vice President Patrick.
What was the vote on this?
6-3.
And why did the 3 people vote against it?
They didn't think we should fund as much for the honorarium for the alums.
Yeah, so that's what I was going to ask about as well. So it's 5,000 for 30 alums, right? So
yes.
That's an honorarium each of like $160, right?
Yeah.
Which is like honestly like not that much, right? So
no.
Would the alums not come?
Yeah.
If we didn't give them $160?
Not as many would come.
Really?
Career in the arts.
I mean, these are people coming from across the country.
It could be that they're using that money for travel.
No, it's only for travel. This is their top.
Oh, wait, so that should should be clarified. Wait, so if that's for travel, then it should be listed as an honorarium, right?
I mean, we're not gonna change the way they.
Wait, so $160 per person is enough for them to get to Duke and back home?
They're subsidizing it. They're
So
subsidizing the
the
travel
people who are
for
working
people.
the arts are paying for their own flights for this?
Basically, yes.
Should we pay for their flights?
I mean, we pay for the flights for like a speaker or anything else, and so these people are coming to campus for careers and things like that to help Duke students who want to get into the arts. And the reason ArtCon even exists is because of the fact that there aren't a lot of opportunities on campus for people interested in careers in the arts to get jobs in the arts. So like, we thought that $5,000 for 30 alumni to come, 30 alumni with 30 different careers, I'm assuming, and we're gonna add a lot of value because they have so many one-on-one interactions. We have coffee chats, lunches, everything.
Yeah, so I don't disagree that the program is really good, like I think it's a super great event, I agree with you on that. I'm just really confused by this $5,000 number, right? Like, why are we making them pay at all to come to Duke if this event's so great?
I mean, I didn't put 5,000 was requested, so I'm gonna grab 5,000.
So I'm always just kind of confused about like where DUARS gets their money from. They do a lot of events that we don't pay for, and if I remember correctly, we gave them $15,000 or so last semester.
Yeah.
They like already had invested dollars from other people for it, and they didn't disclose it.
Yeah.
So did you sort of push back? So first of all, could you just clarify, like, are they part of DU because they always think they are, and then apparently sometimes they are, sometimes they're not. Like, first of all, so are they ever being relevant to you if you fund them, and then also like what other types of funding do they reach out to? My assumption is that like there are so many arts programs that they could have asked, or they could have asked Scotland Rock, who under from what I know has a lot of money.
So in terms of their position on DU, they sit as the president of DU Arts sits on DU's executive board. In terms of funding, they've never told us about any DU funding that they get for any event. And so I'm assuming that they're not. Yeah, I don't think they are, but the president sits on DU. I mean, I could be wrong, but this is my impression. I'm sitting on DU.
Is anyone on DUARS?
I was on DUARS exec last year.
Okay, so they're a separate organization, they're not under DU.
I'm not 100% sure. They're mostly separate umbrella organizations. I do know this is like vital funding. They like need the SFC to approve them, and also for their DUARS.
Just another note, they're trying to change their name because people think they're part of DU and they're not part of DU.
Okay.
So they don't like that.
So
I think they're pretty
Yeah, from what I know, they don't get funding from DU, but they sit on the board because they're like the arts component for students. And then, what was your second question? Oh, the vice provost.
It's like if the president of DUARS sits on DU, you know, because arts is integral to programming on campus, and shouldn't DU be paid for these events?
Yeah.
I mean, what do you think is your opinion of the other future? Do you think it should be paid?
So I'm assuming, like, just based on the event itself, I thought it was good because it reaches out to a lot of students, but I also understand what you're saying, that this is a large sum of money, so DSG should contribute, but maybe not all of it, is what you're saying. And so, I think that's a completely fair point. It's just that, like, we asked them where they get their funding, and if they told us they got no other funding for this, or like for these specific items. Yeah, so for whatever specific items they asked for us, they did not get funding for.
Question time's elapsed.
Is what they told us.
Motion to increase by 2 minutes. Is there a second? Second. All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed?
Nay.
Hand raised. All those in favor, please raise your hand.
It looks.
Yeah. All those opposed?
Can I just say something? So if people don't like the SOC, I mean the recommended legislation, I mean whatever line item it is here, I'm assuming it's the honorarium that's the #1 thing that you're looking at.
I mean, just in general, I'm just confused.
Because the other things are very normal SOC things that we've done, right? The honorarium is the one thing that I agree is not conventional. So that is the one place where I think debate is the best to be had.
Right.
Because the other stuff is like should they get other funding? I feel like that's difficult for us to say right here, right?
Right. Do you have any information on how many people actually attended last year?
Yeah, they said like 400 attended in all the weekend.
Yeah. Any further questions? Senator Gilbert?
Sorry, I'm sure you've been asked. Have they talked to the Alumni Association yet?
Not that I know of.
I think that's something that they would want to fund.
How do you decide which food we're paying for and which we're not? Because in the last SOC request, we didn't pay for food, but if here we're paying for.
Yeah, well, the last SOC request, we didn't pay for food because it's only for performers, basically. This is, if you want to go to this event, you can go.
Okay.
Right, so that's how we decide funding. If it's open, if it's not open.
Any further questions? Vice President Apache?
Yeah, so how is this going to be audited? Are you going to send people to both days?
Yeah, so the lunches and the coffee chats will be, but the honorarium obviously is not.
Right.
Like, that's.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So you'll send representatives out
and based on what I know and what they've told us, they do fill up these lunches completely. But you're right, like we're double checking.
And can you just clarify a couple things? So I know, like, basically just kind of look at the new SOC bylaws. So I know that we said that for requests that were over $1,000, you have to ask.
3 weeks.
Yeah, how many weeks?
3 weeks.
Okay, so they did that.
Yep.
And then also you're gonna have like card swipers there.
Yeah. So there was supposed to be a card swiper for the women's event. The guy bailed, so I had Brunetti go and count how many people went. So thank you, Brunetti.
What a guy.
But yeah, there will be.
And were there as many people as they said there would be?
There was 75, and they said 100, so that met like the 70% round.
Yeah. Question time's elapsed. Unless there's a motion to increase the speaker's time. Seeing none.
Yeah, so can I just make one, I understand that this is a lot of money, but one, this is less than what we funded last year for them by $3,000. And two, it reaches out to a community that I don't think gets enough attention in terms of like careers and things like that. So I think that it's definitely something that would add a lot of value to this campus.
We're now in line to protect the negative. Would everyone like to speak against the SOC recommended legislation? Seeing none, we'll move to a vote. All those in favor of approving this program request, say aye. Aye. All those opposed? Okay.
Awesome. So we got a lot of new groups today. Woo. So we'll start out with my favorite one. I don't know if I'm allowed to say that. There's this freshman from, she's an Indian girl who lived in China. No, listen. So her Duke H2O. Okay, so she is the most passionate person I've ever met on water. I don't think anyone has ever met someone this passionate. She came in with a PowerPoint presentation, and she has developed an album with river sounds with techno, and it was commemorated by the UN Water Foundation. You can go on her website. It's Arroyo, ARROYO. It's literally her. It's her life story. You can download her music. Yeah, I don't know.
Someone's a fanboy.
It was incredible. It was incredible. She told me some crazy stats. Do you know if we put a 5-minute water timer, which she wants to get, on every East Campus shower head, we'll save 1 million gallons of water? Do you know people don't have access to water? I don't know. Look up Arroyo Shreya Singh. ARROYO and then space shower. It's big time. So anyway, she has a lot of freshmen who are interested in this. She clearly is it felt stupid that she was coming to SOC. I was like, yeah, you're approved. I don't that's way too much. So basically, clearly she's done a lot. She has membership, she's an advisor, etc., etc. So they're asking to be recognized. Huh? She makes 7 river songs.
And Dawn raps.
Ganges is my favorite. Yeah, I think. All right. So anyway, they're applying to be recognized.
Any questions?
Wait. What are we
It's also sorry. It's about water conservation, water quality, and kind of making you more aware of water issues. There's environmental groups on campus, but she wants one specifically on water, especially given what's going on in Flint and things like that. Clearly, there's an ongoing thing in the United States and the world, so there's no other water-specific undergraduate association on campus. There's a graduate one, but not an undergraduate one, so we thought that she had all the steps and stuff to do it. Yeah.
Senator Gottlieb?
Can we make a stipulation that just make a interstate river track on her next album?
Yeah, no, I agree.
Senator Sullivan?
So
What are they, okay, so beyond the fact that you think she's awesome, which we've definitely gathered.
Yeah.
And you might be obsessed. What actually will this group do? Because like right now I'm reading this and it's saying like it may organize awareness events, campaigns, like when she came in, was it just about like the cult of her personality or like this organization?
No. She has like this strategy where she thinks that awareness is the #1 thing, and then she also wants to work with like the administration and other student groups on informing them of how they can better manage their water. And I think that like the environmental club has like so many different issues, but specifically water, and she wants to talk about like global water issues, and so that's why it's very different from the cases.
Are there any questions? Senator Curtis?
So I do understand that this is like a more specified issue.
Yeah.
But my question is, do we need it to be that much more specified? Like, sure, there's a broader environmental organization or a couple of them. Do they adequately satisfy water on campus advocacy?
So I think that she made the point that water is like one of the most essential things that we need water, right? So I mean, she would do this better than me. But all I'm saying is that like it's not just some trivial environmental issue. It's like a fundamental part of life. So to have a club dedicated to it makes complete sense.
Go ahead.
I might add, climate change is also not a trivial issue.
Yeah.
Nor are most other environmental issues.
Okay, well, yeah. I mean, SOC thought it was good enough to have a club and have meetings instead.
Order pattern, but I'm trying to figure out, like, it seems like a very specific issue that I feel might be covered by.
And we at SFC disagree just based on the fact that there's so many different aspects of water, even in the United States with the lead pipes and Flint to this global access. Like, there's so many different things that need to be covered when it comes to water and like filtration, et cetera, et cetera. So I think there's a lot of stuff that they can do.
May I give a speech against this for a minute?
So,
wait, no.
Not break this discussion.
Just hold on a second. No. Okay, no, this is actually a legitimate thing. Okay, so like, I like how we've like been having fun about this a lot, but I do think there's something. Like, I think it's important that we look at an organization for specifically what it says it will do and how it will contribute to campus, not just the concept that like the person is doing really cool things and is really motivated about doing specific things on an issue, or that like the issue itself is important. So this is less against this specific organization so much as I think what we're doing right now is like very much feeding into a very like counterbalance to what we should be doing in terms of improving student organization. And I am mildly concerned because I've been here for 4 years that organizations like this built around one person don't sustain themselves afterwards unless they have a very clear mission and objective. And this is not as clear of a mission and objective that an organization needs to have. So part of me is also kind of like, I want her to be better. If she's going to apply or this group is going to apply to exist, they need to tell us a lot better than just, we're committed to these specific issues. They need to tell me what they really want to do and how they're going to contribute to campus other than like, water is important, which I fundamentally agree with as an environmental science person. But that's something that like, I need a little bit more information in my job as a DSG person in order to make a decision on this. And this is maybe just, I just want us to also be serious when we're also looking at this, that this is the consideration we should be making in this moment. That's it. I'm not necessarily against this organization, it's the other things. That's it.
We're now on 5 minutes of questions. Does anyone have any questions? Vice President? Oh, hold on. First, I'll ask you then, Tara.
What was SFC's vote on this?
Like 10-0.
Thanks.
You're smiling. All right, Vice President Brown.
Okay, I think like if there's 10 people who want to get together and talk about water all day, like literally what is the reason to not let them do that, right? Like we define membership for a group or the group to be by like, yeah, we'll contribute to this campus, which is 10 people sitting on you talking about water. I think that's cool. Like that's what
okay,
you really
I'm not point of order.
I think it's motivation. One, I think your definition of what constitutes why we should make group and group is wrong. But also I think that you're saying that this group doesn't mean this expectation is negative, that's also wrong. Like I don't think you even read it. Like, yeah,
I did. I just read it right now. So,
guys, no back and forths. Is there a question? Answer.
There is a question. It's a legal question, but that's fine. Yeah, that's the usual way. So, no, but here's the thing. I'm not, so like, I'm fundamentally not, I will vote, I'm going to vote for this. My point is that, no, this is important because like, guys, like, if this is one function we have, it is the dispersal of money and the approval of student groups. And I know that we buy into like, you know, like we were having a great time with this, but I think it's actually important to like take a minute and look at those things and make sure we're actually analyzing things correctly. That is my main point here. I love like having fun and laughing about it, but I think we should be serious about what we're doing. I agree that there's something good here, but there are reasons why to look at these things because we approve lots of student groups who 4 or 5 years later end up getting disbanded because there aren't people who sustain them and keep them going. That's all I wanted to say. I think this is fine. I'm going to vote yes for it. I'm just trying to make a point because no one seems to be getting it.
We have 3 minutes and 20 seconds left. So it's Chair.
George had his hand up a lot longer.
I'm the executive vice president.
Hold on. Jay, since you know how a new group is made, can you walk me through a step of how a new group is made? Like, if you want to start a group on campus, how do you start a new group?
How do I start a new group?
Because you know, you said that you have the responsibility of knowing, like, what deems a good group or not. So I just want to know, do you know how to make a group?
Yeah, I have. I've actually started
All right, so how do you do it?
in my time on campus. But second, here's how you do it. You start by writing a constitution, figuring out what your group's mission and goal is going to be, what things you're going to do. You draft a constitution. You also then apply to SFC with a constitution and an application, which requires 10 student signatures and a faculty advisor. In order to do that, if it's distributed, like I get how to do it.
No, it actually changed, but
Alright. Guys,
Seconded.
gentlemen, comment.
That was in order. We're voting.
Please be respectful of each other. Don't ask foolish questions. Don't give foolish answers. Vice President Melgard, then Hopkins.
Jay, so serious question, not foolish at all.
Okay.
Do you hate fun?
Motion to call the question.
Yes, no.
Motion vote.
hold on a second. Hold on.
No, seriously.
John.
That's out of there. Whatever.
Ryan, great question.
I'm not going to say.
And you guys are also just making fun of something that's a legitimate thing that you should be instilling in senators to actually pay attention to what they're voting for and not just joke around during Senate, George, okay? That's my main point. I'm going to vote for this because I think it's a good organization, but we should be taking what we're doing seriously. All right, I'm done.
Motion to vote.
Motion to the previous question is out of order because we're still in time for questions.
Thank you, Hopkins.
Hopkins is pro tem.
Sarah Sullivan, would you like to
But this is literally my point. It's just like I'm fine with us like laughing and having fun, but I think this is important that like I think people should be paying attention to what they're doing and going off the merits. Just like we were going through SOC allocations, that's what we should be doing here. I'm sorry to have wasted your time. If that's what you think I did. I'm still going to vote for this. I think it's a great group, but that's something you should be considering when you're doing this. And that's it. Okay.
Thank you. Would anyone like to speak in the affirmative? Seeing none, we move to a vote. All those in favor of approving this new group, Duke H2O, say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed?
Nay.
Ayes
have
on to the next group.
Dang it.
So we'll do Philosophy Society next. There is no philosophy majors union on campus. There's no philosophy group on campus. I know it's nuts. You can search it. There literally is nothing on campus related to philosophy. So this is the Philosophy Society, and it's going to be just like how we have a chemistry majors union, etc. It's going to be about philosophy. They meet all the requirements. They've had meetings. They have a lot of members, and it just makes sense.
Any questions?
Yeah, so I was going to ask this in the last one, but I was cut short, so I'm going to ask it here because it's slightly philosophical and I think it meets some of the criteria. So just to get a sense for how SOC decides whether or not a new group should be recognized or chartered, do you take into account whether or not the group can actually hold events necessarily? So I think it's great to have a discussion about water. Obviously, I'm glad SOC has realized that it's necessary for life. To a certain extent, this is similar, but I think the philosophy majors can have events that are beneficial to them. So just at a broader level, where does the ability or the intent to host events factor into SOC?
It's a large factor. We ask them every single time, what kind of funding needs would you need? So I'll just say the water one, they wanted to do awareness campaigns. So for that, we need to have tables on the BC Plaza and like maybe flyers, things like that. That's an event, right? So those are, we always ask them what kind of events do you think on holding. They want to bring in speakers maybe. That's an event.
All right. Any further questions? against the recognition of the Philosophy Society? Seeing none, move to a vote. All those in favor of approving these three groups, say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed?
What is next? Pancakes for Parkinson's. So this is part of the national organization. It's underneath the Michael J. Fox Foundation. And so basically we have no kind of Parkinson's awareness kind of group on campus. Since there's a national chapter, they already have kind of a constitution and they know what they're going to be doing as a group. They want to do awareness campaigns. They want to hold one big event related to pancakes in each semester because it's part of the, it's literally, like, look it up, it's a national foundation, Pancakes for Parkinson's. And they also want to bring in like speakers, they have some people in mind. And so overall, we found that they have a lot of members. They've had like 2 or 3 meetings, and their leadership is actually mostly sophomores, which is something we look for because that means that they'll be able to continue the organization in 2 years or 3 years, whatever. So they meet a need on campus, and we're hoping to solve it.
Any questions?
Are they DPS? No, because you have to be SOC recognized before you can apply. To play piano on campus, you get private tutored, and they want to create a space where anyone who either wants to learn piano or who wants to just like learn from their peers can play. And so what this would mean is that, so he's already talked to Biddle, he already has a relationship there, all they need is SOC recognition so they can get the room on 25 Black or whatever, because they can do that without being SOC recognized. The pianos are already there, the only fees they would need are, like, meaning just in general, they're planning to be charters, and the only fees they would need is moving pianos costs money for like a certain amount of meetings that you have per semester. It's very cheap, but it still adds up to around like $200 per semester. So they're going to need that from the annual budget to exist, but they want to do like free, just learn how to play this song or things like that, and there's no piano-centered group on campus. And I actually know a lot of people on campus who are really interested in piano, like JP, who would do that, so we thought it would be a great group.
All right, any questions? Seeing none, we are now on line for technical negative. I would like to speak against the recognition of devilish geese. Seeing none, go to a vote. All those in favor of approving this new group, say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed?
JP. So it's inspired by Princeton's whatever. That's Paul.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Duke Hong Kong Student Association. Duke Hong Kong Student Association. So we don't have a Hong Kong Student Association on campus. They're an identity group. They want to talk about more of their culture. They're like, I'm just like not informed about this, so I don't know how to like say it correctly. But basically, they're not like, they have different culture and different ideals than mainland China, than Taiwan, than other parts of East Asia. So since they're an identity group and they don't have a formal recognition on campus, we want to give them that. They have like, I think 12 members. They have events that they want to hold that talk about like Hong Kong specifically. They want to bring in people in the Durham area who are from Hong Kong and are scholars on Hong Kong. So we thought that it was like a no-brainer for an identity group like them to have a group on campus.
All right, are there further questions? Seeing none, we're now on line for technical negative speech against the recognition of the Hong Kong Students Association. I would like to speak against the recognition of this new group. Seeing none, move to a vote. All those in favor of approving this new group, say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Great. Okay. Vice President Tara Gonzalez, will you please come to the behalf of the poet.
Sorry, I've been like a lot. Cool, so basically, only 4 people came to FOAC today, so take this with like a grain of salt.
Oh, no, I voted.
Was that a quorum?
What?
I voted.
You voted?
Yeah.
Great, 5 people came, 4 people came to FOAC and they all voted. But, oh, yeah, okay. So, basically, these are just a bunch of like people who applied late for their reimbursement. So we decided that if you applied like within 2 weeks late, and it's the first time that this happened, we're just gonna undo because we made a mistake and people make mistakes. So Duke Chess Club, $70.41. Duke Chess Club, $63. Duke Chess, $42. Duke Chess, $65. Wow, Duke Chess needs to get their act together. And the Duke Consulting Club asked for $144, but their event was on November 24th. So we were like, that's just so late. So we just kind of decided not. I think we voted
That was 2-2.
2-2 not to fund the consulting club, so that was an even split, so if you guys think we should fund them anyway. Is this the first time that they've done this?
First, yeah.
It is the first time that they submitted late, but they submitted 2.5 months late. So 2-2 vote not to fund. And for all the trust club ones, which were all within the past week, we decided to fund all of them. That was also in So the trust club ones were 4-0 because they were only a week and a half late. And then the consulting club was 2-2. So up to you guys what you want to fund. My recommendation is fund trust club, don't fund consulting club, but you know.
Any questions? Go to comments.
Yeah, did y'all consider any other reimbursement requests?
These are the only ones we got this week.
Oh, no. Yeah, I still have to say Christmas party, so.
Oh, the Christmas party?
Yeah.
I don't think FOAC does that. I think that's probably.
It was a reimbursement, delayed, so.
Oh, I guess
I'll
we'll
double check
probably
with
fund it
DSG.
because we like it.
Senator Jane?
Senator Jane.
Senator Jane.
Do people know that they can apply to get reimbursed even though they're late? Even though they're late for each day?
I think in our guidelines we say, I think we say on the guidelines if it's your first time, you can apply late and see what happens. Yeah, I mean I think that's Wayne. Did they come this week? No, he's here.
Well, we just got new guidelines.
Is this a new thing?
Yes.
Yeah.
So UCAE and FOAC, sorry, am I allowed to speak?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay. So UCAE and FOAC kind of met, well, UCAE, Kaiser, and John met to talk about the reimbursement policy. And so new guidelines were just implemented, last week? And so those are now formal, but so that's, I guess, what we're adhering to now. But as to the past, I agree it was a little not really clear.
Yeah, people didn't really know that we could apply and probably fund you anyway because we are nice. I think the new guidelines specify if it's your first time or second time. This is a new form that we have, the late reimbursement form.
Senator Cruz?
What was Nikhil's vote on the consultant?
So honestly, just take my vote with a grain of salt. I wasn't there for discussion. I didn't know that it was in December or November. But so don't take my.
So he voted to fund it, but I voted not to fund it. Up to you, which one's more important?
Any further questions?
No, but actually, this was an even split, so just vote with your option.
Seeing no more questions.
What did they give the rationale for why they brought it in so late?
We have had problems with iPage.
Internet page?
With internet page. What is that? No one knows in the past. So we wanted to make sure that the website was up and running in the new year before seeking reimbursement. If the service provided was, if the service proved unreliable, we were planning to switch domain authorities. So we had to extend our website domain for I just don't think that's very, you could have just emailed us and let us know that was what was going on. Yeah, no one really knows. But up to you guys. Again, it's not a huge deal for someone to submit one late. We just have policies for reasons. So again, vote with your confidence.
We're going to have to go through these one by one.
Oh, do we have to? Okay, so.
What each chess club thing is?
Chess club, food. So we'll do each of the chess club ones separately. Yeah, can we just do all 4 chess clubs together?
Motion to vote on all 4 chess club.
A second.
Sorry,
wait,
First
Dr. Pittman, do you have to say?
Yeah, I just want to say one thing. It is a big deal because the folks that do reimbursement work in our office, and often reimbursements come in bundles, and one event can be upwards of 20 or 30 receipts. It takes one staff member all day to do in between working with students that come in. And so before it goes to this group, it goes to FOAC. But before it even goes there, the team that works every day with finance has already said no. And they've made those decisions based on a number of things. And so they go so far as to actually look at, did the person attend training? Did the group have access to knowledge about resources? They kind of have a rigorous, I guess, guideline for looking at this. And so I just want to say that if we were to fund every group that comes through here, then there's no process for an appeal. And so I'm not saying that you should vote either way, but I think we have to further the conversation about what that means.
Yeah.
Because if 100% of every appeal comes in is approved, then every group that's ever late is then going to appeal. And so part of the process when you ask for late reimbursement, we've had some reimbursements come in that would negatively impact this year's budget of a student organization because a group actually decided to travel last year. We had reimbursements come in recently for flights that were booked over the summer that were just taken in the tune of a $1,200 to $1,500 ticket. So when exceptions are made, you may not realize that those exceptions that are made are then going to negatively impact the group's budget right now. And those decisions were made by some people that perhaps aren't still here. And so it's for, I realize that it's for, but I just want to say that I think we need to still further the conversation about what that's going to mean later.
Yeah, no, sorry, and I apologize for being so flippant. Yeah, I think that we, maybe Nikhil, next week you could just sort of go over quickly what the new guidelines are, because I don't even know them that well. And then also go over people who are applying late, right? Like, did the people go to training or not? Because we don't have that information, but it'd be useful if we did in the future. So I don't know if the treasurer of Chess Club attended the training that they were supposed to. If they didn't, we might want to penalize them. Unfortunately, I actually don't have that information, and we should. So maybe from now on in the FOAP meetings, we'll have that information. I'll maybe present that.
They give that information every week too. So there's a checklist that
Okay.
our team, they also make exceptions. So they don't just say no.
Yeah.
So if they come in and they feel like that somebody has, you know, a death in the family or there's some extenuating circumstances, but there's a lot of groups that come in every day who forgot or just didn't turn it in, so.
Yeah, so no, I definitely think you're right. I think in the future, FOAP is going to do a better job of not being so flippant with the information that we give you guys, or the information that we have. So I'll just tell you again what the votes were, so you
Wait
know.
a second. There was a motion to vote on the chess club reimbursements collectively. There's a second. All those in favor, say aye. Aye. All opposed? All right, we move to a vote on the chess club, unless you want to.
Yeah, so I'll just kind of go over again what the chess club was. It was 65 plus 42 plus 64 plus $70. That's 4 receipts, all of them for food for the chess club for like different events that they attended between the dates of 125 and 128. So I think that they were on a trip, like at the Pan Collegiate International Chess Tournament or something. And the reason for that is that they misunderstood the guidelines since the tournament was over when they're late. So they didn't realize when they have to sort of submit them. Again, the vote on this was unanimously 4-0, but we didn't get a quorum, so.
We did a quorum.
Oh, we did, we barely got a quorum, so.
So all those in favor of approving the reimbursement appeal by the chess club, say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed?
Nay.
Moving forward with the consulting club.
All right, and then consulting club was $145. The event date was November 24th. This was turned in January 21st. And again, unfortunately, I don't have information for you guys on if they attended the training or what else happened.
Vice President Trump.
Yeah, I just want to make like a temporal contextual reference for everyone so they can factor into the proceeding. So this event was what, November 24th?
Mm-hmm.
So like a couple days before Thanksgiving, they went away on Thanksgiving break, came back, had finals, had Christmas break, probably didn't think about it, had 2 weeks of like SLG, Greek rush, and then like what, 10 days has elapsed since then. So like I really think like the meaningful difference in the time between like the chess club reimbursements and the consulting club reimbursements is like pretty negligible. I think that we should fund it. It's like $150. I would hate for some like exec member of consulting club to go ahead and have to like pocket this. I'm not saying that like we should definitely do this, but like my opinion is that we should fund it just because it is their first time and like all the details I just laid out.
Okay, wait, I heard, right, it's like a domain, it's for a domain. How is a domain for a website for an event? Legitimate question. Can we figure that out? Because that doesn't seem like an event expenditure.
Nick, can you just explain why this expense was under an event name if they had to extend their web domain name? Why was that? Why
Why were they spending $150 on an
Why is
event,
that
or like on a
not
web domain name for an event?
They wouldn't.
But that's what this says that it's.
I mean, we don't, web domain comes from the, like,
that stuff comes from the annual budget, so that doesn't, I don't know.
I think that's what they just said.
The money that they requested was called website renewal. So it was for a website.
And yeah, so websites are all covered in annual budgets, because that's not an event-based thing.
Okay, so technically this request isn't valid, is that it?
I'm not gonna make comments on like whether it's valid or not, but it's not an event. Like, we don't fund websites for
I mean,
events.
so I mean, you just need to clarify for us, can you submit a reimbursement form for a material good or only for events?
It's just, like, you can, but within that 2-week frame, like, they should have known that the website was X amount of money when they bought, like, when they got the domain in
Or
March.
annual budget?
Yeah, like, that should have been known a long time ago.
But this is still a valid reimbursement form.
It's a valid reimbursement form, it's just that, it's not.
They purchased a new domain name on the
Right.
24th of November, it's not actually events. It's just now that they're finally getting back.
Yeah, did I say that in that?
Yeah, that was what I was thinking.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah.
Yeah, so is this something that went through SOFC, was approved, and they just didn't submit a receipt? Or is this an expense that was never approved by SOFC?
No, we approved their website, but it's just that they use their own money and so they're getting reimbursed for it.
Yeah, no, it seems like, so the way this is described, sorry, and I can't come off this, based on my understanding of this, is that they purchased the, I know I'm not, but I just read this. They purchased their domain name, looks like on the 24th of November. They said in here that they wanted to wait to submit because they were gonna get a refund, I guess, if they decided to switch hosts. And they found out they liked this host, so now once they decided to do it and keep it, they decided to keep it. That's what this says.
Wait, just quickly, Nicola, can you clarify, did they ask SFC for money, like, did they just buy it and then decided they needed to?
No, I mean, I can check right now, but they always ask for a website domain in the annual budget, so that's not surprising that.
So why did they use a P card?
Move to extend by 3 minutes.
People sometimes use their own money and get reimbursed.
There's a motion to extend the speaker's time by 3 minutes. There's a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed?
Nay.
All right, in that case, we're now like negative against the recommendation. Would anyone like to speak against Farwell's recommendation? Which was 2 versus 2. All right, in that case, we move to vote. All those in favor of approving the Farwell recommendation for the consulting club for a total of $155?
So the recommendation, there's no recommendation because it was an even split, but based off of, I would say just keep in mind the things that VP Lukacs said, that Dr. Kiffin said, that I said, which is that, like, these reimbursements are hard to do, but also if we don't reimburse them, so pay for this out of pocket.
In which case, if I vote is we're voting in favor of reimbursing the consulting club. A nay vote is you're voting not in favor.
Motion to hand raise,
Yep. Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed?
Nay.
Nay, the ayes have it. All those in favor of approving the reimbursement request by consulting club, raise your hand. All those opposed? All right, but the consulting club is not reimbursed, 19 to 22. Moving on to, new business, that's me. Pro Tem Hopkins, will you please take your chair? This is Les, sorry. So I'm introducing this amendment to the spring 2016 election rules and statute because it was brought to my attention by multiple Young Trustee candidates that there have been students who have, potentially students who have ripped down posters and torn down banners and engaged in malicious intent during the course of this election. And so this amendment is to essentially show that if a Young Trustee candidate has their posters removed or if they have their banners removed, they can replace it without any additional costs or total campaign expenditures, which is $100. I think this is very fair, and they should not have to pay the price out of their own pocket for the actions of others. Are there any questions?
So don't do custodians remove posters once a week or something? And would that be included? Would that count as posters being removed?
Yes.
That would count.
think it's fair too.
Well, that's not what you just said.
Right, this was in response to people who may have ripped down posters of candidates, but at the same time, if the custodian decides to rip down posters too, a candidate should be penalized because of this.
Well, what we're saying is, it says like, the thing was just intent. That's
Oh, I guess we could.
Yeah, so just maybe specify.
But,
Yeah, I don't disagree with the logic, I think that, I guess it makes sense.
can I just
Wow.
hop in?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, so my one question is like, it's kind of an understood thing that like on Tuesday nights, the housekeeping staff takes down all the flyers in DC.
Right, this didn't happen on Tuesday night.
Okay, no, I understand, no, this isn't about the specific incident, so much as just like, should we, like, how do we quantify that when we start saying that the housekeeping takes it down, then you don't have to pay for it or something?
So I was a friendly amendment to add, it's also
Well, I get it, I'm just asking, why do you think that's, like, 'cause that hasn't been an issue before, and everyone sort of understands how it works, so like, why are we, do we need to do that? That's what I'm asking you.
What is it that you?
I'm trying to say, do we need to do this? Do we need to add in the stipulation of the custodial thing? Do we need to? Because everyone understands that that's the rule and that's what happens, so like, why do we send these?
I'm glad JP brought that up, because I also think that's unfair to the candidate who has their posters removed through no fault of their own.
Yeah,
But they-
so
I mean, that's the same for every single kid that
Right.
is taken down.
And every candidate would be able to replace it.
Okay, alright, I'm not gonna fight this.
Well, yeah, I mean, I'm gonna fight this because this just like does make that much sense to me, because I could just be like, I could start campaigning a month in advance and then every week ask for an additional $50 to put up posters. But the point is like, custodians take down all the posters because you really shouldn't have posters up for 4 weeks, because you should have posters up for 1 week, right, before the election. And again, everyone's posters are taken down at the same time to make room for new posters by other student groups, like other events that are taking place. So like, giving people more money to put up more posters just doesn't make like any sense. And then it also in terms of like malicious intent, how do you know what malicious intent is, right? Like maybe a common, like maybe I live in Tortuga House and Tortuga House decided to take down all the posters. Maybe that wasn't malicious intent, or just make a banner from Tortuga House or something like. I don't really understand how you think, if you don't know who took down your posters, you know if it's malicious intent or not. So I don't even know like what process you go through to say this is malicious intent. You can easily just get $50 to $100 more by saying that it was malicious intent. It wasn't like, this just, I don't really even need this at all, because I don't think that this happens very regularly. I think if it did, you wouldn't even really know that it had. So I don't think much intent that should exist, but I also specifically think for custodial staff to be down your posters, this definitely should exist.
Right, so regardless if it's a matter of malicious intent, regardless if it's a matter of a custodian removing a poster, I think on principle and as a student organization that advocates for students' involvement, be it in elections or through extracurriculars or whatever we advocate for, it's important that we do whatever we can to ensure that any election that involves a betterment of the undergraduate student experience and involves a fair process where everyone is on an equal playing field and everyone has an equal opportunity towards campaigning and ensuring that their vision is embedded in the school. And if we strike this amendment down, if we vote against this, I think you're essentially saying, yes, you can take down a poster and you will be penalized for it. Your opponent's posters may still be up, but yours will be down. And I think that's fundamentally unfair, and so I think it's the most important reason why we should vote in favor of this amendment.
Are we voting on this
This is the first reading.
Yes. No, this is not a bylaw, so we will be voting on this today. Grace?
I mean, I would agree that it's important to allow the candidate to campaign effectively, and tearing down posters, whether it be through, especially through malicious intent, would be detrimental to one candidate's campaign while not having the same effect on another candidate's. Tara, to address your concern of this allowing candidates to start campaigning very early, was that your concern? That they
I mean, there's a lot of concerns. I mean, one of them is just like, everyone knows when you're writing a campaign, Tuesday night is all the posters come down. So everyone's posters equally come down on Tuesday night. You know that that's how it works, because I don't really think it's fair to put your face up on a lot of billboards over and over and over and get unlimited funds to do that. The reason that we have a limit on how many funds you can use is that you don't paper the school with your face, basically. So, like, I don't want to see Max and Jamal and Will's faces on every billboard. That's why we give them limited amounts of money, so they have to choose where and when.
To tally off that point too, it's also like, if you don't have like an like, we do reimburse people, but if you don't have like an unlimited amount of cash, you can't just keep going to Kinko's, like, you won't be able to afford to keep going to Kinko's and printing out more.
I mean, under the system, I would
Guys,
usually buy $100.
Is there a question? That makes sense, but again, I think it's more important to, if you're afraid of people campaigning for way too long.
Senator Torres, do you have a question for me? Because this is raised.
Okay. Do you see a way to address Tara's concern where somebody may be campaigning for an unlimited amount of time and absolutely peppering the school with their face, while still accounting for and preventing malicious intent from giving any one candidate a disadvantage or another candidate?
So first of all, you cannot campaign for an unlimited amount of time. A campaign starts on a specific date as designated by the Attorney General. And if a candidate puts up posters for themselves for an election prior to the beginning of the campaign, they will inevitably be penalized. What was your second point? One second. Let me just ask.
So the second point was, then how do you see the best way to address, like, to prevent a candidate from putting their faces, I guess, all over campus was the concern, while still preventing malicious intent from disadvantaging?
So long as the original amount of money they spent was within the budgetary constraints put forward by the statute that we passed last week, then they can put their posters up as many times as they want, as wherever they want on campus, so long as it's under or equal to $100. So essentially, if they start their campaign with posters of their face everywhere on campus, so long as it's under $100, that's fine. It's allowable under rules. We voted on this before, and it's been agreed on in the past.
John,
Yeah.
can I say something? Okay, I need to ask a question here because this is an important issue. This is directed specifically at seniors. I checked with Brian and he wasn't sure, so Michael and JP and Jay, I'm just looking to see if I can, I might be misremembering this, but 4 years ago, there was a court case. No, a different one. There was, so there was an issue in the election for vice president and presidential life regarding intent of flyering. And I'm pretty sure there was a court case that dealt with intent of flying over an existing poster.
Was this the Fedget thing?
We're recorded, but
John, can we
Yeah.
tell us what we get
the election's next Tuesday, we can't table it.
Okay. Why?
The election's on Tuesday, we won't meet again.
I mean, so
for-
this one effective IT, it'll have to be other the election we do this next
Are you okay with that? I guess you don't need it.
I mean, I can.
This wasn't intended
It's
just
just
for the actual
motion to table.
Second.
Responsibility of trustee election.
John, a motion and seconded.
Okay. Okay. The second is to table until next week. All those in favor?
Aye.
All opposed?
Nay.
Is there a motion at this time?
Motion to adjourn.
Is there, all in favor?